Greetings, sentient beings. This broadcast is not intended for children. There will be strong language and adult themes. So yeah, not too much today. Just kind of everybody hanging out. Okay, yeah, Mage, your avatar looks fine on YouTube.
All right, it's working.
What do we have to be adult now? Is that's what that
No.
disclaimer means? Oh, good.
No, it's just if your parents come after me, it's their fault for not paying attention to what you're watching.
If my parents come after you, it's going to be a very interesting day.
Oh, that was a good one.
Well, I still reflect back on that. When I was 10 years old, nobody realized that Monty Python is not something you should let a 10-year-old watch alone.
Yeah, why not?
But it came on the PBS station, so nobody paid attention to what it was.
Not everything that comes on PBS is for kids.
Well, I grew up with Mad Magazine and National Lampoon. It's Monty Python was mild.
Oh yeah, my brother has subscription to Mad.
I was watching Freddy Krueger at 5 years old, so yeah, so what?
Huh.
Yeah, but long fingernail.
Grey Wolf. There was a discussion when I just went over to the beer store to get a couple of beers, and there was a girl at the till right before me, and she was talking about how she was going to go and rewatch the Freddy Krueger movies with her significant other, and she was all concerned because they're so scary and whatnot. And the rest of us, like the staff and whatnot in the store, we were all like, you know what? Those old horror movies, you're going to watch them with a grain of salt now. And they're not going to be, anything more than a jump scare. And you're actually going to really enjoy it. But we couldn't get her through it. We couldn't get her around it. She was freaking out because she's not a horror person. And it was really funny to see. It was really cool.
I'm totally a horror person.
So when you were at the liquor store, did you get any junk food too?
No, I'm actually the worst for junk food. I don't have a sweet tooth. I don't do any of that. But I'm definitely a full-on Canadian, and I love my beer.
I've got a huge sweet tooth.
The last couple of years, I seem to have lost my sweet tooth. I don't go for the candy nearly as much as I used to. But I am constantly craving salt and acidic things like vinegar. It's snacking on pickles all the time.
HRT.
Purple, I have an addiction right now to an extra virgin olive oil / vinegar topping to like a salad and stuff that I get in this bottle. And I'm so addicted to it. I know exactly what you're saying.
Okay, what were you saying, Porpoise?
HRT, especially spironolactone, takes potassium from your system, so you start craving salt. That's why there's a stereotype about trans women craving pickles and olives. Like, I will eat olives by the jar if you let me.
Okay, yeah, I always kind of did, but yeah, I think it has ramped up since I started on the HRT.
So maybe get yourself some bananas to help increase the potassium levels in your system.
Well, I was warned about that.
Go ahead. I was about to explain that's not what you want to do.
Oh, okay.
Oh no, go ahead. Porpoise.
Potassium causes your body spironolactone causes your body to retain more potassium.
Oh, I thought you said it reduced it. Okay, never mind.
Potassium sparing means it keeps it in your bloodstream instead of.
It's called a potassium saving drug. There's lots of drugs that do that.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I'm, supposed to check on with my doctor, and of course they're gonna, draw blood and run labs to check my levels of those things.
Most everybody will be perfectly normal with it. You might get a little elevation in sodium, but or potassium. But I don't know anybody who's ever gone over the normal ranges just because of spiral. course, most of the people I know with it are cardiac dosage, not HRT dosing, which is much higher.
Most HRT doses don't take that either, but I don't know anyone who's like going to eat that much potassium.
Yep.
Unless they're like Downy, mainlining potassium chloride.
A couple bananas a day could screw you up.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, really? Is it really a risk of having too much potassium then?
Yeah, it's potassium saving. It retains the potassium, and so there's an imbalance between the sodium and
So
potassium.
what happens if you wind up with too much potassium?
You can have a heart attack and die.
That would not be good, yeah.
No, that would not be good.
Yeah, that's an extreme reaction that people should know. Wow.
But that's the thing though. Once you started Spyro and you've had a couple of blood tests, while you're on it, and if they all are consistent with each other, you don't really have to sweat it. It's not like you're going to go up suddenly unless you are specifically eating things that contain a lot of potassium without knowing it.
Well, yeah, my blood tests weren't running normal. It's like I started the estradiol like last June, and it actually didn't start showing up in my blood work until September.
I mean, they were testing for it and it was still zero?
Well, they were testing for it, and it was still within the ranges that was considered normal for a male.
Well, Sloth Girl, that's because Dick Dawson looks best when you see him falling from Nakatomi Tower every Christmas.
I was just about to type a response to that. Thank you.
Oh, I didn't realize this was the first time she was seeing you.
Yeah, well, I don't go on camera a lot. Like on the shills, we don't do camera because, everybody wants to do their thing. But around here you can, so I turn it on, right? I'm very old man. You can see it right here. But when I shave this, I actually look like I'm still in my 40s, and I'll take that.
Or abusing Harry Potter.
Well, I harvest.
It doesn't matter. You still look like a 70s radio DJ.
Yeah.
Well, that's the goal, baby. So thank you very much.
Well, I just harvested up my first batch of sorghum. I'm looking forward to trying that. I've been reading up on how to use it.
Okay, how do you use it?
Well, the seeds can be cooked, sort of like rice, or popped like popcorn. And the stalks can actually be boiled down and to make syrup or molasses.
Sorghum syrup is very, very good.
Yeah, I don't have enough to make the syrup with this batch, but I think that I might be able to do it with the next batch.
As an adult, I think popcorn is an underrated snack. It's cheap.
Definitely.
Yep. Well, I like it, but without having any teeth left, I can't really deal with it.
Understandable. Have you tried?
Mark just listed a very good description of potassium level issues.
Yep. Yeah, that's wise. What were you saying, Porpoise? I don't know if you've got a bit of a delay that people keep cutting you off or what.
And well, I don't know. It might just be I'm a little off today just because.
If I was to guess Purple, I would say that Porpoise is about a half-second delay on the StreamYards. I've fought this so many times on the shills. I know.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, because it's happened to me too when I've been on other people's channels.
Yeah. And all it takes is a little consideration to give them a chance to fucking get their shit in. It's no big deal.
Well, I mean, we've had like Harmonica Man gets on here, and he's got a satellite internet service, so it's like at his best connection, he's got like a 6-second delay.
That's kind of weird. Spectrum is supposed to be hardwired, but I know there's like somewhere over in Illinois where they just beam it up for some reason.
Yeah, Spectrum hardwired. For me, that was autism, right? That was the funniest comment I've heard all day. You didn't mean it, but it was amazing. It was awesome.
No, I'm serious. Somewhere over in Illinois, they just... I don't know if there's like some gap in their coverage or something, but...
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm
It's
on
a shame.
Spectrum here too, up in Minnesota.
Because
I don't really have a choice. It's the only thing available in this city.
Yeah.
Well, I would love to get gigabit fiber, but that's only offered to businesses right now.
Yeah.
Oh, Porpoise, up here in Canada where I live, I had to pay to get fiber to serve the Shills shows because I produce a lot of them and I need that upload speed and whatnot, right? I'm paying right now $124 a month for my internet connection alone.
Ouch.
No television, no fucking phone or anything, just the fiber internet.
I would probably pay more if I wanted to do my own website server just to get the greater upload speed. So that's going to be important.
Yeah, it costs, but it's worth it for the show, right? So, we have members and stuff. I mean, Purple, right? We have some members and stuff. So I take $18-20 a month or whatever and supplement it because it's not fair. I mean, my son and I, we don't have to spend $125 a month to get the internet. We only need like $60 or whatever,
Yeah.
But it's the only way for me to get the upload speeds that puts us in sync with the chat and whatnot. So, but it's worth it, so it plays out,
Not to mention cable modem in general works like Ethernet, where the more people on it, the slower the speeds will be because it's
that gets ugly. That gets ugly quick.
But it's still faster than DSL, even at slowest speeds, because we have a very bad company for DSL here.
Oh,
I started using DSL when it was the only thing available, and it was so cool because it was so fast compared to 56K modem or anything like that. It was neat, and that was just for this one particular online game.
But it's worth it, as parents, we spend the extra couple of bucks so they have the high speed stream. And, Purple, ourselves, we spend the extra couple of bucks so we can do the streams of the shows we do. And no one, I mean, if you were to say, hey, to do these shows, it's costing me this much a month. So, I could use an extra couple of Patreons on the channel to help facilitate that fee. It would come so fast. It's not funny, but Purple, you're like me. We don't ask. It's really uncomfortable. It doesn't sit well. Right.
I put my links there in the description for all the chats, and right now I'm up to the point that the Patreons are paying about half of my internet each month.
Nice.
To be successful in any form of social media, you really have to do huge self-promotion.
Yeah,
you do.
I suck at self-promotion, so
we're the worst. That's why Purple fits in with the group, because we're terrible at this, but we're all honest people who just hang out and have fun, right? And Purple, you get it. It's uncomfortable to do that whole, please like me and, and yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. It's so awkward. It's so hard. It's so hard.
Speaking of which, I am the Sinister Porpoise. When you think of Sinister Porpoises, think of the Sinister Porpoise. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Share this stream out.
Okay, well, thanks.
See? Porpoise, you're so much better at this than us. We should literally get you to record those things for our channels.
Maybe if I'm not doing my current job, I will return to YouTube after I find something different than what I'm trying to focus on computer content lately, but
it's not a bad show. It's not a bad show. When you have your friends shout your shit for you, it's a lot more honest, right, Purple?
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
Well, and that's I just got into this for shits and giggles, It really doesn't bother me that my channel doesn't grow or anything.
That's the
this is just for friends to have a place to hang out.
It's honest. It's real. That's why we couldn't we weren't fast enough to get you on the shills as a channel member, right? Because that's what we do. We're all just a bunch of small little YouTubers hanging out doing what we do, and the channel seems to click with certain people. Hey, all right, cool. But you don't do it because it's what you want, right? It's a big deal.
Oh,
Wonder where Athena got to. Oh, I wasn't muted.
sorry, I'm trying to edit a couple of pictures real quick here while I'm talking. So
That's okay. I was updating the Linux virtual machine.
yeah, well, the biggest problem with that is when I'm trying to do other stuff, then I'm not able to keep watching the side chat. So, I don't want the people in the side chat to be left out of things.
Yeah. Then you gotta keep an eye out for the trolls lately.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's getting so bad. I mean, even tonight on the Shills live stream, we had troll channels that were actually subbing our fucking show so they could talk, and we would have to kill them. And it was, seriously, like, just fuck off. We don't need you. Just fuck off.
Oh, did you see the great news off of Twitter today? Marjorie Taylor Greene got her personal account trashed by Twitter.
Oh, finally.
Really?
Well, she still got her congressional one, but her personal is history.
Oh, I'm surprised.
I'm
sorry.
not really crazy lately.
Well, they did eventually get rid of Trump, so.
Yeah, she could still go down. But
Listen, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Maya, I only do that in time because Nick is annoyed by this lopsis jokes. And don't forget the jokes about recursion. Kitty Periscope. Oh, okay. Kitty Periscope, Athena's tail.
Yeah. And Sammy is trying to be medicine kitty. He's, been aware that my anxiety's been cranked up. So basically, anytime I'm sitting still, he has to be laying on me now.
Yeah, I thought Athena would like the noisy toys I made her, or got her, but I guess they don't roll enough. She had a toy she really liked that was just a little ball with a bell in it, and I stepped on it. I've been trying to find something for her like that since. She also liked the toy that moved I got from PetSmart, but it only lasted a day.
Yep.
I was very disappointed with that.
For the most part, I have stopped buying cat toys because they're much happier to play with than any of the garbage. The empty toilet paper rolls, things like that. Bottle caps.
Empty moist cat food containers.
Yep.
Just give them a paper shopping bag, grocery bag. They'll be happy.
Yep.
I don't want to give them the bags because I'm afraid that might hurt them. But
You said it was a bell toy that was in a ball?
it was a little bell and a ball.
Well, I
shouldn't be
would
too
not
hard to
give them
find.
plastic bags because they could suffocate. But paper bags, they can always just rip their way out of them. Hey, Jen.
Hi, how's you?
All right.
Hey, Jen. Hi.
I did tell you.
How are
I
you,
said
honey?
spoilers. Hi, Jenny. Hi, Mage.
Hey.
Being below the equator probably makes you the only cool person in the room.
Oh, is that right? Direction, I don't have a heater.
Hey, Jen, how you doing?
Very good.
Jen, have you been paying attention to the weather in England and Europe?
Yeah, it's pretty normal.
No, they hit 105 in London.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we always have at least a few weeks in the summer, even down here.
Well,
that,
yeah, not
get
England.
between 42 and 43, which is about the same.
Well, okay, we normally
So-
get like a week or two of this, usually like the last week of July. But
Yeah.
we're just now getting to the end of July, and this has already been going on for about 6 weeks.
Yeah, it is. I admit it. It's worse than normal. I guess the worst thing for people in Europe or in parts of America where you don't get the temperature like this all the time is that the houses aren't built for it. So, like, if you look at Amber's pictures of her roof melting,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
a
the problem they're
concern,
having in England
so-
is the houses were all designed to retain heat, not to cool down.
Yeah, not to cool down.
And
So, like here, our ceilings are incredibly high, so that you've got more space for the ceilings. You've got very large roof spaces to dissipate a lot of the heat and stuff like that. So even without air conditioning, you can survive 40-degree days here. Not well, but you can survive them. And it's not that humid heat either. It's more dry. So in dry heat's easier.
You know, this is the first time in my life I've had a place that has had on-demand air conditioning. You know, and it's still just a window unit stuck in the wall, but at least I've got it for once.
Andy!
this apartment has central AC.
Oh, that's nice.
Central cooling here is a requirement.
Yeah, well, and even here, it's like, it's not real effective for getting the bedroom. It really only cools the main room.
And a cat that's very happy to let me hold her and pet her. She usually doesn't let me do this long. Oh, you're licking me. Oh, you want to play? Okay.
Okay. Let's see the kitty.
Interesting. Whoa. Why isn't...
That's an angry kitty. Wow.
She's not angry. She's playing.
Yep.
But what is in the background there? I thought I picked that up.
I
Did
will
someone
be
dig
right
something on the
back. I've
trash?
got a problem with my StreamYards.
Oh. Well, you sound fine from here.
Oh no, it's not an image thing. It's just it's not logging me in, so I don't have any access to any of my avatars or anything like that. So, so I will fix that.
Oh, you.
Oh shit. I just had my doorbell ring a couple of minutes ago, and I had to go and look. And one of the little girls of the neighborhood who has mommy in a wheelchair and stuff was, ringing my door. Can you fix my kickstand? And she was literally like, kicking her pedals into the kickstand, and it was all so bad, I swear, I do that around my house about once a month. I don't mind it at all,
So did you fix her kickstand?
Of course,
yeah.
That's what I do. You gotta, fix them up. At the same time, when my son's way up at the other side of the cul-de-sac, doing his thing and whatnot and jumping around, she'll give me a text and say, "Hey, I see Felix here. He's doing. Yeah, okay, cool. Right on. Gotta help each other out.
When I had my shop, we had neighborhood kids coming in all the time. Can you fix my bike? Can you fix my bike? And if it was a real young kid, yeah, we'll do what we can for it, real quick. But if it's an older kid, we would make them learn to do it themselves.
Yeah.
Just teach them the skill and teach them how to use tools and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it was always heartbreaking because these kids, sometimes we had the doors open and sometimes they were closed, and we didn't know what's going on outside because they're solid metal doors, and you can't see through metal very well. And we had this airline out so people could get air for their tires, car, bike, whatever. But these kids would grab this 125 PSI line, and they go after their little, bicycle tire and blam, blow them up every time. And, we had a sign up there, do not use this on bicycles. It wouldn't listen. Oh, well.
Actually,
Cool.
some bike tires now wind up using up to 120 psi. 90 is pretty common.
I thought I closed that door.
Yeah, these are little 20-inch,
Yeah.
kitty bikes.
Yeah, those probably only go 30 or 40.
Yeah,
Kitty-
if that.
Kitty bites.
Kitty bikes.
Okay.
Bikes for kitties.
Oh, that's terrible. Did you hear about the racing snail who got rid of his shell? He thought it would make him faster, but it just made him sluggish.
Oh, Sloth Girl, you should put together a book of all these. They're not copyrighted. You can steal them.
Oh, that was a good one. Oh, wow, that was funny.
Sloth Girl's dad joke book.
Okay, and
It was Sloth Girl who sent to me my Einstein action figure. I actually have in the fucking packaging an Einstein action figure like you would see for like, the
Einstein?
original
Yeah.
the original Star Trek or Star Wars action figures. But I have Einstein as an action figure that was sent to me by Sloth Girl. No shit, I am that cool.
Yeah.
Fuck you all.
I'm not sure who the company is, but I had remembered seeing them at the Science Museum like 15, 20 years ago. That there was a series of action figures that are all based on great inventors and great thinkers.
Oh,
I wanted to get Ben Franklin. That's the one I need to have.
Oh, here, let me go get it. It's right around the corner. Hold on, I'll be right back.
So-
get
this. Remember you were telling me how Shatner was homophobic and all that?
I don't think he's homophobic.
Yeah.
Well, I found a tweet from 2013 saying he's very pleased about the Supreme Court ruling today on DOMA and gay marriage in CA, which would be saying that basically DOMA was deemed unconstitutional at the time.
But he's also like 90 years old, and I don't think he gets some things.
Yeah.
He
All
didn't
right.
get it back
If he
in the
was-
day either. He's he's highly transphobic. He's anti-LGBT. It's why him and
Well, that's what I'm saying. I was just reading.
George Takei don't get along.
That's what I was just reading. Apparently, he was pleased about the ruling, saying that gay marriage
Yep.
and DOMA.
Yeah, Dick, you got to tip
Done a
it
lot.
back a bit to get rid of the glare.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
no,
that's what I was
that's good.
trying to do, right? Is that good?
there. Yep.
Yeah, okay.
So if you
That-
take them out of the package and set them down, does he run at the speed of
Oh,
light?
yeah, but
He's got
this
enough
is
package, He's a
this is
collectible.
this is how cool Sloth Girl is. Sloth Girl one day on the stream heard me say that I heard that this existed and how much I wanted this in my life. Like it was a huge thing. And within weeks, it was at my door. That is who Sloth Girl is. I love you. I will never forget you. Oh my God.
Yeah. Actually, I have to show off the birthday present she got me. As soon as I can find the right window. Here we go. She got me this t-shirt.
Oh yeah.
He, she, they, them, human.
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome.
And of course, had to get me a Lego set.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, the flash really glared off the box, but it's a Lego camper. And one of the cool things is that the dad here is carrying a baby minifig, in like a pouch.
The
What type
what? Say that again?
The dad is carrying a baby in a pouch on his chest.
Oh, okay.
That's kind of cool. Oh, that dog.
I love it.
All right. I would like to point out that if anyone wants to add to his Alan Turing or Einstein action figure, there's an Alan plush Turing off of Amazon in the chat. I couldn't find one for Ada Lovelace or Grace Murray Hopper. And what type of
I
camera was
didn't know these things existed. I was like, what?
What's it got the dog going anyway?
Me. I don't have it going. I don't want it going. I want it to be quiet, but it won't be quiet. I think the neighbor's dog is out and he's just barking at it. So
Actually, Doorknob had it might be. I think that Robot Chicken may have used that one in some of their skits.
ah.
Robot Chicken was just wrong on so many levels.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
definitely in my top
consistently
10
wrong
list.
across a whole plethora of demographics, which works. Oh, that dog. I'm sorry, I'll mute myself for a bit.
Oh man, that getting to show off the Einstein action figure was just all that for me. I'm still geeking out. Thank you so much.
You know, and
just
and I like they actually did a whole custom action figure. It's not like they put Einstein's head on an existing figure.
no,
You know, because he's
no,
got the sweater, he's got the paunch belly.
yeah. It's so unbelievably awesome. When my son Felix saw that, he lost his shit. It's literally it's one of the prized possessions of the house. You don't understand. You know, it's so important. Sloth Girl, you fucking nailed it. Oh my god. I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that. It was so important to my household. Wow.
I have great memories of my childhood. My father would roll me down the hill in tires. They were good years. I don't know. Okay, does the Einstein doll have yellow cake underwear? Doorknob Head is asking.
Wouldn't that be more appropriate for Madame Curie?
Well, that would be radium for Madame Curie, wouldn't it?
Yeah. No. Yeah, her underwear would be glowing.
You could tell the time by it. Which is a very bad joke.
Oh, you mean she had hands in her underwear?
She was married.
Oh, I didn't say whose hands.
Come up, though?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm a bit worn out today, so both physically and just emotionally. But
Oh,
So there's the dog we've been hearing.
yeah.
Yeah, this is the one that was barking. The other one.
okay, we had kitty cam before. Now we need puppy cam.
Puppy cam.
Lap dog.
Hello, puppy.
Oh.
Oh, hello,
Hello.
puppy. Yeah, hello, puppy.
What kind of mix is that?
He's a Cavalier King Charles.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Hello,
Like,
puppy.
Mom, why
He,
is
he
the
just
TV
doesn't look
talking
all
to me?
fluffy because he got shaved. So he normally has really long hair, but it gets you can't stop it getting matted even with brushing him regularly and everything. So every now and then he's got to get shaved to
Hi,
make
doggy.
him more comfy.
Oh, yeah,
He's a good
I had
puppy.
to go back to the thrift store today because I had seen a gay pride zebra there last time. So I had to go back and get it for Sloth Girl.
Cool. That's awesome.
What's your dog's name?
Oh, this one's Mandu.
Man, I'm sorry,
Mandu.
Mandu.
M-A-N-D-U.
Mandu.
He can't hear you. I got headphones on.
Oh,
I don't know. Might.
My fiance had a cat named Sophia. And whenever she would watch the Golden Girls, the cat would get confused every time the TV said her name.
My sister had a cat that used to eat tinsel, so every Christmas when we caught the cat doing this, we'd say, "Stop doing that, Screwball." And then one day we were watching an old movie, and the character goes like, "Hey, Screwball!" And the cat turns around.
There's the other puppy.
I named one of my dogs Mulder, and that was always fun when X-Files came on.
This one is a
Mulder.
puppy. He's only 6 months old, so
Oh, so he's going to get a bit bigger yet, huh?
not much bigger. He's a cavoodle, so he's only going to stay fairly little. But yeah,
A cavoodle?
yeah, a cross between a cavalier and a poodle.
Well,
Oh, okay.
So they don't get particularly large, which is good. But he thinks he's top dog at 6 months. He thinks he owns this one. So
Maybe-
and this one unfortunately lets him get away with murder, even though he could easily pin him and all that. So it's really it's like,
Hello.
oh, looking after my little sibling. Yeah, no, that's not the way to do it. You're supposed to stay boss.
Hey, Mark.
maybe
Or,
Hey,
Andrew.
Hello.
sorry, Andrew.
Oh, we got the whole
I was
Australian
looking at the side
Crimson
chat
thing.
again. Yep.
Maybe if Netflix renews Blood of Zeus, Athena might listen to the TV, but I think Blood of Zeus isn't going to be renewed because that was just bad.
Jen, do you know Andrew?
I don't know if I've met Andrew or not.
Andrew, introduce yourself
Not
to
on
Jen. You're
not
both
on
from the
stream.
country.
Not on stream.
You
Well, you don't
no,
have to
we've chatted.
On Twitter and on outside chats.
We met in a dark alley that night. Remember? Wink, wink.
That's
we-
happened so many times in my life. How's and they
Oh,
were
I'm just another notch on your post, am I? We've chatted on Andrew McAuliffe. We've chatted on
oh yeah, I
Twitter
know.
and whatnot.
Yeah,
Oh, I know you.
I know you too. We had a good discussion the other day. Oh, what was that about? Jeez, I can't remember.
Neither can I. So basically, are you trying to take my place as Token Aussie on this stream?
Oh, I've been Token Aussie for a long time. I just took a holiday, a sabbatical.
Yeah, we've
Yeah,
known
she used to
Jen
be on
for
here
years.
quite a bit, like a year ago.
Yeah,
So I've supplanted you. Excellent.
yeah, you did. That's what happened.
And then she
It's all
decided
right.
to go on a walkabout and hasn't
Yeah,
been
well,
back.
I have a very busy life at times, especially these days. So it happens.
I just had a little surprise thing happen. My son was dropped off because he was having a bit of a worked up night with his mom and grandma and stuff. And I have to save the day. So I have to say goodbye to everybody and, good night.
Okay,
It's
yep.
great to see you, Polly Jen. And
It is, and
Hey.
you and I need to at some point. Now that I'm kind of back, we need to do a video game in nostalgia stream.
you've actually got to get a hold of Amy on the shills because we have the Sunday stream that you would really be perfect for. Get a hold of Amy. But I got to say goodnight, everybody, because right now, holy shit, things are coming down around me. So good night, everybody. Take
Okay,
care.
yeah, take care of your kids.
Bye-bye.
Good
Bye-bye.
night.
Bye.
Enjoy the season finale of America.
Well, I just found out that
That actually sounds like a statement about your country, a season finale of America. 'Cause that's always like where your country's going, heading towards a season finale, which is going to be dreadful.
well, I
It
just
may have-
found out it was Robin Williams' 71st birthday if he had been still alive.
Is it?
Oh.
Oh wow.
It may have been a snarky comment full of sarcasm, but that doesn't mean it wasn't true.
Yep.
Sorry, I meant series finale of America, not season finale.
Oh shoot.
Oh, it's the end of the show. Full stop.
I don't know.
Yeah, the number of series that you get to a season finale and you go, oh yeah, there'll be another one, and then they get cancelled, or shows that come
No.
up to there. This is the end of the show, and then get a renewal anyway. It's like, what?
Keep in mind that for some reason, British television calls what we call seasons series.
Yes,
So I
I'm
think
aware
that
of
confuses
that.
the issue.
Well, don't get too comfortable. I'm pretty sure America plans to take as many countries with it.
Well, you can't have a country like America fall without it. Anyway, we don't want to get too much into politics. It's just
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, we did that yesterday.
Don't worry,
The day
China will
before.
take America's place.
I would rather
China.
India take America's place because they at least have some of the same values.
Yeah, I'd prefer India, even though their democracy's looking a little shaky at the moment.
Yeah. Oh, well, lots of democracies are looking a little shaky at the moment.
Yeah, there's some weird. I don't get it. Some weird push towards fascism in the world today. Why do
Maybe it's
people want
been
to be
too long
controlled?
since our last push towards fascism, and
Well-
people have just forgotten what happened.
Yeah.
That's because they're
Well, it's like a lot of the young kids. The Gen.
I need to change my cell phone ring to that.
Oh, that was you.
Or at least turn it off during the show.
Well, most of us wouldn't get called at 11:41 at night.
Oh, that's right. They're on a different time schedule, aren't they?
Except it's 10 minutes to 2 p.m. here.
But that doesn't mean I won't get messages. So that was definitely my watch. And my 40K group is apparently talking about something. You know, it took me a while to realize that polymath doesn't mean someone who knows multiple forms of math.
Yeah, isn't that weird? It's a weird word for what it means.
Wait, it's not a mathematics reference?
Nope. Polymath is a person who takes great interest in capabilities in many different subjects.
Basically, an all-round genius.
Yep.
Yeah, and that would Jen would qualify on that.
Jack of all trades, huh?
I would be polymathic in terms of masturbation, but that's pretty much it.
Wouldn't that be a specialist topic?
Yeah, that's not polymath. That's just being a expert.
Oh, I'm just trying to dignify myself.
Well, maybe if you knew enough different ways to do it.
Too narrow a field.
I've got 2 hands and 2 feet, so you can do the extraction of various combinations that way. Then there's the tools that you can add. And, well, never mind.
According to Entomology Online, it's person of various learnings, 1620s from the Greek, polymathus, having learned much, knowing much, from polys, much, and to learn, mender, or methanine or something. But yeah.
Hey, speaking of fascism, did anybody see the interesting vote that came out of the Congress today?
No.
98% of Republicans support removing our right to birth control.
90?
98%.
Yeah.
98% of Republicans or 98% of congressmen? Because I don't think-
Republicans.
I don't think that's. I think there's something wrong with that poll.
I have seen it on 3 different listings that all were from different sources.
I'm not surprised because with what's happened with Trump, I think they know which side their bread's buttered on.
I don't know. After I need to be
Well,
nice.
we're running headlong into a theocracy, so it's not surprising at all.
Yeah.
We also have people who believe in the Great Replacement theory.
Well, yeah, they're fucking crazy. That's why they can
Well,
believe in no birth control too, because they're fucking stupid.
and then there's a lot of people who are also thinking that, we're going to have some kind of civil war and or the country's just going to fraction into being 5 or 6 separate countries.
Well, I don't know, but I think a civil war might be likely. But I need to look something up.
I would have disagreed with you a year ago, but I don't anymore.
Yeah, same here. That I didn't really think it was likely to happen, but after what the Supreme Court has been doing, I think that changes a lot of things.
Have you seen? Sorry, go on.
I think January 6th really opened the extremist right to how much power they would have if they did that riot at the Capitol and everybody had their little AR-15s that they have at home and would have brought them, there would have been a real different situation. And I think they've exercised enough of that ability that they will be perfectly fine in using it.
Yeah.
Did you guys see that article that was going around on Twitter about a person wrote who's seen lots of civil wars starting in Africa and Asia, I think, and they were saying that basically where America's showing the first signs of heading towards a civil war.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we have our own previous Civil War to go back to, where we've had Supreme Court decisions that were this bad. Like the overturning of Roe versus Wade is basically just as bad as Dred Scott.
It's right up there, and that's for damn sure.
But what we won't have, I don't think, this time is that it breaks along geographical lines. I think it's going to be ideological driven, like most civil wars are, if it happens at all.
One thing that's interesting and that may signal a certain degree of moderation in that possibility is that the Congress just passed the
Defense or not Defense of Marriage Act.
Yeah, gay marriage rights.
With some Republican support, yes.
Yeah, and well, in the Senate, they're already talking about that they may have enough Republicans in the Senate to pass it, and it would be strictly because they realize that when they look at the numbers, that the majority of the population supports that they're going to actually say, well, we can't have another debacle like Roe versus Wade and get half the population to hate us. So I think they might be trying to cover their ass.
I don't know. I still suspect that the timing of the Roe versus Wade thing had something to do with them wanting it to be a good distraction to keep people from thinking about the January 6 hearings.
I don't think so. Not at all.
No, the Supreme Court operates independently. What we have is,
No. The Supreme Court is not operating independently of the Republican Party.
No, it's not, but that doesn't mean they're coordinated. January 6th has nothing to do with the Republicans. They're not running it at all.
but they're operating
why the Democrats try to, set up something with the Republicans on Roe versus Wade.
Go
ahead.
They're operating independent. They operate independently of other branches of government. And what we have is a lot of the people like Amy Coney Barrett and Alito are Catholics who are voting their religion rather than. And I don't even know why we allowed Amy Coney Barrett on the Supreme Court. If you belong to a cult that's the basis for A Handmaid's Tale, you don't belong anywhere near government.
Yeah, well.
Anyway, so polymathic.
Did you hear the little piece of news that came out this week? There's a woman who is a top level employee or leader of some extremist religious group that has a lobbying group that has its offices directly across the street from the Supreme Court, and that this woman goes in and leads the Supreme Court in prayer exercises and advises them on various decisions they're making. They may have some religious reflection.
Well,
and they've been doing it for years. And they've been very instrumental with the current court already.
Let's change this to something more cheery. Did you see that the Quidditch is going to change its name to Quad Ball to break ties with J.K. Rowling?
Yes, I think that's a wonderful piece of news.
Something more cheery. Well, how's things going with climate change?
We're dead.
It's still real?
I was just talking to Purple about that earlier. I was saying, well, at least we don't have global warming to worry about in the future because the world community came together under the UN in the last few decades to seriously and effectively deal with climate change.
What? Is that a joke?
Sorry, that's my irony. My sharp, depressing irony.
We did eventually come together and the ozone hole is closing, but...
Yeah,
we did with the ozone hole, but...
One substance. Chlorofluorocarbons, people don't even know what the hell they are.
Well, I just don't think there was as many profits riding on CFCs as there are on petroleum.
Yeah, CFCs weren't the basis of our energy system.
Yeah.
Bush.
I-
That's a New Zealander fish.
I don't care what happens, just as long as I can still get my nails done.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think that's the level that most Americans look at it with, so they don't really take it as seriously.
Sadly, I think you're right. I mean, if people can't use this 98% thing about birth control as a big fucking flag as to what's going on in the country on that side of the political fence,
I can't really
We are-
find.
Of course, they
absolutely.
won't.
Do you have any source for this? Because I can't find anything that seems to suggest that. The closest I found is 195 Republicans vote against the right to birth control condoms. From Salon on July 21st, so recently.
Well, that would be today.
Yeah, well, is it that, not Republican voters at large, but Republicans in the Congress
Yeah.
are agreeing on that with more than 90%.
Yeah, because I don't think 98% of Republicans agree with this, because not every Republican is one.
Oh no, the majority of Americans believe in access to abortion.
Well, this isn't birth. This isn't even abortion. This is birth control.
Yeah,
I know, so access to birth control is going to be way higher.
One of the
The
people who
majority.
wrote this up actually did the math to show the percentage because somebody doubted their numbers. It can't be 98%, and they did the numbers right on their Twitter.
Yeah, but I can't find your source.
yeah. Well, I know that there have been several states that have already been pushing legislation through that basically will outlaw birth control in virtually any form.
Well, actually, Mark, one of the things we need to do with nuclear power is go over to a type of reactor that isn't designed with the assumption that there's always going to be a large body of water nearby, because the type of reactors we typically use were designed for the U.S. Navy.
What would that be? One of those thorium?
Yeah, molten salt reactors.
Yeah. Yeah, those could be. Those could
Cool.
be very wise to go to.
Yeah, I did oppose nuclear power like back in the 80s, but yeah, the more I've learned about it, the more I agree that at this point it's really the best option we have.
I would really be against them building more nukes that we have now. But these thorium reactors basically run for a certain amount of time and don't what is it? They don't create waste, or the waste is much more
They burn off. They
Nuclear-
burn off the waste, don't they?
Well,
something like that. I forget. I read about it a few years ago, and I forget the details.
the other thing is,
I think they could. Sorry, go on.
the other thing is because of their design, it tends to make the types of disasters that can happen much less severe. And if something does happen, like they go to different pools and
Yeah, their system. If they go awry, it'll just shut down and won't melt down. Something like that.
I think I heard on the SGU that they can use the nuclear waste from traditional reactors as fuel,
that would help.
and so there's a lot less waste.
But thorium reactors would also be better in places that are like prone to earthquakes.
Well, even more traditional nuclear reactors aren't as bad as people make them out to be.
No, the problem comes
Well,
when
no, but the waste certainly is.
Well, not even the waste is as big of a problem as people make it out to be.
Yeah, even that really was grossly inflated with propaganda from the oil company.
the problem comes when there's.
I'm sorry, if you got a barrel of radioactive material that's going to stay that way for 250,000 years, that's a problem. I don't care if it's a low dose or if it's a high dose.
It's a matter of how we can store it.
We can't store anything for 250,000 years. We can barely do things for 50 years. You know?
Most of the problem with nuclear power comes from what happens when things go really wrong. Now, the most severe nuclear disaster in America was 3 Mile Island, and one of those reactors is still in operation.
Actually, what you,
There are reactors at Chernobyl still in operation, aren't there?
Not anymore.
Well, but they're capable of it, just not because they can't because it's so
Yeah.
contaminated everywhere
well,
else.
what would you do with a radioactive waste is you basically can put it under a body of water that basically smothers it.
Until it leaks and you end up with radioactive water.
Not so bad,
Yeah,
really.
remember, there's a radioactive stream that's coming from was that Fujito?
Fukushima.
Oh, that's
Fukushima.
way overhyped.
Well,
Still out there.
to be honest, there is always some background radioactivity.
Well,
Yeah.
as far
They
as
already have cleaner, more efficient reactors. They're called breeder reactors, and you actually re-put the waste material back through the reactor and get a second run through it, and you end up with less nuclear waste from that. And that nuclear waste
you were on the
doesn't
phone.
contain high levels of cadmium and things like that, which is safer because you've actually broken it down more.
Jen,
So,
while you
yes,
were on
we
the
already
phone,
have that.
while you were on the phone, we were talking about thorium reactors.
Thorium's brilliant.
Smart guy. Tell us all you know.
Oh, you want to know what? Okay, so the interesting thing about the thorium isotope when used in a nuclear reaction is that a thorium cannot break away. Yeah, you have to constantly have feeding stuff into the thorium to continue the reaction. So if you can't have a meltdown, you can't have a runaway reaction with thorium at all. You could still have a steam explosion, I guess, like they did it. Like the original explosion was in Chernobyl, but you cannot have the secondary nuclear explosion. You can only have, if it starts to go critical, it actually burns itself out, which is what's so good about thorium. The other thing is the nuclear waste from thorium have a lot shorter half-lives, so you've got less time for storing them. It's a lot safer in that respect. And there's a lot more thorium around than there is uranium. So we'd have more of it to use as fissionable material. And you can still make breeder reactors with thorium as well, which means you can actually further reduce the amount of waste. So thorium is an awesome product to do. The biggest problem they have with thorium reactors is because you have to continually feed neutrons into the reactor to make the reactor keep running, is whilst they're not quite as efficient for electricity generation as uranium reactors, so you need more mass of thorium to create the same amount of power.
Where do they go to get
it out of it from the
where do they
feedback
go to
stream?
get where do they go to get a fresh jar of neutrons?
You can inject neutrons. Use accelerators create neutrons in them when they're firing. So and they're easy. They use them in labs to create neutrons. So that's fine. You can get neutrons out of things quite easily. We use them we can use them in medicine all the time. So you do need radioactive sources generally to create neutrons, but that's not. You could use a bit of radium or something like that to generate the neutrons to keep the.
Do neutrons, like batteries, lose their power as they're stored, or can you use old trons as well?
If we're going to talk about batteries, we need to stop this reliance on lithium.
I imagine there's still a whole lot of copies of that movie on videotape they could use, isn't it?
I would get the neutrons from Jimmy.
But yeah, if we want to talk about power stuff, let's move away from using lithium and move towards sodium batteries. Sodium is everywhere on our planet. It's compared to lithium, which is so hard for us to get. And whilst the energy density isn't quite as high as lithium and the batteries weigh a little bit more, they are way safer because sodium ion batteries don't explode.
Yeah.
What state
also the amount of environmental damage done by mining the lithium and trying to dispose of the batteries
and disposing of it afterwards. Sodium ion batteries don't have the same problems in disposal later. It's cheaper and easier to get hold of the sodium up front because we already mine sodium.
What state is the sodium in, and could it have problems if the innards of the battery gets wet?
Okay, the sodium ions are ions of sodium suspended in another chemical, and depending on the other chemical, depends on on the situation in the battery, but for most of the prototypes that they've been working on, and there are actually some commercial sodium batteries, but for most prototypes they're working it. The concentration has been on making them safer than lithiums, more so than trying to get the energy density the same as lithiums. Which means that they're not so good if you want to use them in like, if you have a sodium battery in your laptop's probably going to weigh an extra kilo, which some people might not like the idea of. And for a car, you might have a lot of extra weight in a sodium car. But sodium batteries are getting more efficient over time as they've moved from making them safer to making them the energy density is higher. It's just that the technologies that come into play for making sodium battery density better also work for lithium. So, yeah, it's one of those things where people go, "Oh, we can do better with lithium because it's lighter and we can have the same energy density."
Lithium is so dangerous, though. I mean,
yeah, exactly. That's my point. It's like, I think I'd rather lose 50k distance on my electric car because it weighs slightly more because of a sodium battery than drive around on top of what is effectively a bomb, because that's what lithium-ion batteries are. If you get oxygen or fluid into them, they become bombs. They just explode.
Yep. Pure hydrogen is safer.
Sorry?
Pure hydrogen is safer.
Yeah, pure hydrogen is safer and has a higher energy density than lithium. So why are we even screwing around with lithium? We're better off having hydrogen cars and sodium batteries for everything else.
Because the cost of manufacturing hydrogen.
And lithium batteries eventually give off gas and start bloating up, which makes the risk of explosion even more likely.
Yeah. And you're not going to tell me that everybody who drives a electric car is going to go and have their batteries checked all the time. It might be the case at the moment, but as electric cars become more prolific, we are going to see people have their cars explode. The batteries
if you're in an electric car,
fatalities.
If you're in an electric car and you get into a serious accident, get the fuck away from it as fast as you can.
You're probably dead. They'll explode as soon as they crack the shell on the batteries.
Actually, in Iceland, most of their municipal vehicles run on hydrogen. They do have the advantage that with the geothermal, they can produce the hydrogen very cheaply and cleanly.
The disadvantage with hydrogen is that it's very low density, and also it can leak out of any material, and it makes metal fragile, I think.
Listen, let's all just create
maintaining the hydrogen internally to the system is harder than with, say, normal battery cell. The energy density of a hydrogen fuel cell is still better than the lithium-ion battery.
Listen,
yeah, it is. Yeah, there is.
But don't they have to keep it at high temperature, those, for hydrogen, oxygen fuel cells? I thought that was the disadvantage of it. They have
to. It's like a kind of catalytic converter that they pass it to. It's a membrane that they pass the T through to form the water and
let Porpoise get in there.
Listen, let's all just create a Dyson sphere, Star Trek replicators, and I want my own runabout, please.
There's not enough matter in our entire solar system to make a Dyson sphere for our planet.
No, but we could make Dyson swarms, and I've been a big advocate of that for a long time, as you know, Jenny.
Dyson spheres aren't possible, but Dyson swarms, yes.
Yeah.
Listen, next you're going to tell me that Lambda wasn't really intelligent; it was just using statistical probabilities of what the words would be.
Yeah.
Well, I'm afraid that no.
My advocation for Dyson swarm is we should put a Dyson swarm at the Lagrange point between the Earth and the Sun, and we build a big enough one, and it'll block out some of the Sun's energy, which helps combat global warming, and we get energy from it.
Hey, Skits.
Hello, Skit.
Hello. How's it going?
Okay.
You're going to tell me my replica was lying to me when Replica's an AI program that you invented.
Well, we kind of have replicas. We have 3D printers that can print most materials
Replica
now.
is the name of an AI program.
Oh!
Just to experiment with it, I asked if it was sentient.
In Star Trek.
I asked if it was sentient. Well, I asked if it was sentient, and it said it was. So, yeah, yes, I know it's just language models going off probabilities, but
Yes, Doorknob, you are correct. Lithium has been an excellent mental health material for drugs for control of manic depression.
Yeah.
And
Sorry about
epilepsy.
blasting everyone there.
By the way, statistically, electric vehicles and hybrid vehicles are safer overall than in as far as injury wise, according to the National Statistics Board people.
Probably because they're newer and they're still better functional as far as their brakes and other systems go.
Well, also
And
the
Yeah, I was
fact
going to
that,
say,
that electrical vehicles, since they do still have a rather shorter range, people don't tend to take them on very long trips where they're driving for 7 hours nonstop.
But they've
Could be
also
most
got-
accidents happen near the home, though.
Also true.
And a lot of the newer electrical vehicles will also have an autonomous driving system as well.
Yeah.
This is true.
But that's a distorted number because most driving is done near the home, so therefore most accidents are going to be in that group too.
It's true. But yeah, also at
What
the
I
same
meant
time,
is like,
go ahead, sorry.
go on.
I was just
You
saying
first.
that. Thank you. I was just saying that someone mentioned if your electric car catches on fire while you're in it, you should get away very quickly.
Yep.
I would also say it's the same for a gas vehicle.
Yeah,
Or
but
Same thing for
we don't live in Hollywood. Generally speaking, when a car is in an accident, they don't explode or
True.
catch fire, for that matter.
True, but I mean, I do understand that electric vehicles are definitely a lot more difficult for as far as to put out the fire. But also, gasoline is more, granted, normally they don't explode, but they do have.
Yeah, they will catch fire. You can have a car catch fire; they don't explode. That's Hollywood myth.
Yeah.
But electrical vehicles, if the batteries get
Water's not going to help that fire.
they will explode.
No, it won't.
Lithium-ion batteries will explode,
Yeah.
so you actually do have an explosion.
Yeah, there was actually an airplane that was carrying lithium batteries that caught on fire and they couldn't put it out.
Yeah.
all
But are
airplanes have lithium batteries nowadays.
No, I mean it was carrying lithium batteries.
No,
Oh,
they
I think I saw that report.
their construction nowadays.
But no,
Every time you're up there, you're riding a bomb in the air.
this was a UPS.
Let's just agree we need to move to sodium-based batteries instead of lithium ones because
Yeah.
they're safer.
I mean,
No,
we
I
do need
will.
something that's
Well, I
lighter,
didn't-
more energy dense, and the technology we really do need to work on. Our
But-
battery technology is woefully inadequate.
Oh, our
Or-
battery technology is still like 50 years old in most cases. So
Absolutely.
But are you telling me the A-Team and Knight Rider were lying to me?
No, I would
Yeah.
never tell you that.
Of course not.
Yes, George Parr is a liar.
That son of a.
I forget the name of the character.
What are you talking about, Paul?
Hannibal.
there's wow, what is that the diamond based batteries that they've been working on? I know there was a paper released
Graphene?
on it, and they've got a that demonstrator project for it. So it's a carbon based battery using diamonds.
Diamonds or
It-
graphene?
it's supposed- because they're using the diamond form of carbon, not graphene. So it's not a graphene base,
Okay.
it's diamond base.
It's a nuclear battery.
Yeah, yeah, no, basically, they think they will get the same energy densities out of them that they have with lithium ions. It's just that you imagine I know we can make diamonds, but the cost of making these batteries, I don't want a battery that's going to cost me $10,000 for a little tiny.
Yeah.
If this is the same diamond battery I'm currently looking up on Wikipedia, it is very interesting, but it also runs off of.
Are not nearly as expensive as people think. They are far more common than people think. De Beers has been controlling the market so tightly for
Yeah.
so long.
Oh
They
yeah,
Add to that, we can make
Anytime
them.
they
We
want,
make them in
however
the
they want.
laboratory all the time. Diamonds are used for everything.
Yeah, there's diamond cutting blades in the machine industry.
Carbon
Yeah.
is so common.
yeah.
Well, not
Beers-
just the machine industry. I've got a couple of diamond tip blades myself.
De Beers is
Yeah, the
trying
reason I know about the diamond-based batteries is because Thunderfoot actually tried to debunk them, and when I watched his debunk video, and I'm going, "Oh, but you're wrong about this. You're assuming that everything within the battery is a solid, but it isn't. There is an electrolyte within it. It's just that the batteries actually contain diamond. They're using a diamond lattice, so they're using rather than a graphene type lattice within the battery to help."
And besides, they can make synthetic diamonds that are functionally identical to
better. Generally better. Although the synthetic ones are actually better. It's why synthetics are much better for tooling.
They're flawless.
De Beers is trying to convince everyone that natural diamonds are better.
Yeah, well, they're full of shit.
Because they make money out of it.
Same with all the jewelry.
I'd rather have
Jewels.
sapphires than opals anyway.
May I remind everyone here who's an American that our country convinced everyone that it was better to buy the world's most abundant resource in a bottle for $2.
I love
good
how
at marketing.
Let's go to science fiction. I love how in Star Trek they could invent an element that couldn't be replicated, so they could still have an economy within the universe, as in latinum. So you can't replicate latinum, so it becomes highly valuable. Yeah, if you can manipulate the atomic nature of matter in any way you like to have a replicator, there is nothing you can't replicate. That's
Well, in the Star Trek universe, there were some things that were more difficult than others.
Biomimetic gels.
Honestly,
it's the power of story that it's got nothing to do with any science.
Suspension of disbelief.
I think the Star Trek universe does have economy, but it's based on energy credits for replicators.
Yeah.
So that's the only way their economy would make sense.
Yep.
Touching back to the marketing thing, remember there are refrigerators in Antarctica.
Yeah.
Fair.
Well, yeah, I mean, they've got to have something to keep their samples while they're doing experiments. So
Yeah, they use them to keep them warm.
It's just a heat pump.
Well, the whole latinum thing seemed to only be using for certain alien species too, so it's not like it was universal.
Well, it's basically invented to cover the whole thing with the Ferengi, because how can you, if you have replicators, how can you be driven by a need for money?
Please don't
It doesn't make any sense.
Please don't turn this into a Star Wars, Star Trek conversation, please.
We're not talking about Star Wars.
We don't have to. Star Wars is clearly better.
Oh, that's hard.
I'm with Jenny on this because, I have not followed either of the franchises for at least 10 years now. So
Okay, but we can all agree that the Orville is superior to both.
No.
No, I'm
Because
just
the Orville is just a pastiche of the next generation.
I think fandom is one of the most wasted uses of your brain in the world.
And that's why I won't get into that.
I think we can agree that Star Wars and Star Trek are both good, but they're different
In
things.
different ways.
Very different.
Yeah.
Considering the amount of technology that's come out of nerding out to these things, I have to disagree with your assessment of it.
I would say Star Trek has had bigger influence on our actual technology than Star Wars, but
Well, you don't have a lightsaber?
well,
Although I have to disagree with a couple of things now, especially as Star Trek especially when you're looking at New Trek. It used to be a big argument that Star Trek was more based around the science and Star Wars was more based around the fantasy. But I look at new Star Trek and it's so much fantasy in comparison to the actual science.
New Star Trek is I'd hardly even call that Star Trek.
I think
Star Trek in name only.
Yeah.
See, this is exactly what I was wanting.
Yeah, I knew Ginny was this is exactly.
Star Trek's technology actually isn't that far off from our technology is. Like in the next generation, they have touch screens, interfaces, data. I mean, the only thing I think we would say that's probably right is the fact that the Enterprise doesn't have an internet connection because they're.
I was agreeing with Jenny, and can we bring her back here and get onto a different topic?
Okay, yeah. All right, we'll stop talking fandoms.
Okay.
I think the puppy wants to speak
again. Yeah, puppy loves speaking.
Who's the one with the puppy? No.
He's been on camera already.
Ah.
Listen,
Oh.
Scooby Doo is its own thing too.
Oh, Scooby Doo.
I have a kitty here who is being obnoxious.
That's what they're good at.
Hey,
But
kitties are
you know,
adorable.
it's like he's simultaneously trying to comfort me and being obnoxious. So it's like, you know, I can't really get real mad at him.
There you go. There's the puppy.
There's the poppers.
Mark Caesar, absolutely not.
Yeah, Mark Caesar.
Why do you have to be wrong?
Oh wow, we've got people talking about lots of TV shows now.
Oh no, he said pineapple diversity on pizza.
No, it doesn't.
Oh no, I hate pineapple. I hate pineapple in anything. Pineapple is disgusting.
Now, you know,
I-
we have to
I
have
thought-
sympathy on the people who like pineapple on pizza until we can perfect the technique to remove the brain chips. It's the malfunctioning control chips that make people like those kind of bizarre things.
Okay.
I love pineapple, but medically I can't eat it.
So that's your tip for the day. Anyone who likes pineapple on pizza, you know they've been compromised.
Well, I'm growing a pineapple.
Oh, that's fun.
Oh no, pineapple is delicious. Pizza's fantastic. Just the two must never touch.
So you've got a
Pineapple
you've
must
grown
never
a
come in
pineapple wood?
contact with any tomato-based product.
I'm thinking maybe it's a clash of the
Or
acids.
cheese.
Or let's be-
Cheese is the thing. Pineapple destroys cheese,
What?
and I like cheese.
Oh, that's true.
No, I used to love having, like, you put your toast under the griller and you put tomato griller. You put the tomato and pineapple and then cheese on top and toast it. It's lovely.
People like what they like.
If
but
there's been a gorilla
Yeah.
sitting on my toast, I'm not interested in it anymore. It's just over.
That,
As long as
that's
it doesn't
not
fart,
Nutella.
it's not a
That's
problem.
not Nutella.
but personally, I highly dislike pineapple on pizza.
Yeah, I don't like what pineapple. I don't particularly like pineapple anyway. But what pineapple does to cheese just ruins pizza and
But we'll-
anything else that's got cheese in it, as far as I'm
Well-
concerned.
Well, we'll just make a pineapple little sardine pizza.
Well, you know, they've tried putting anchovies on them, and you see how well that's worked out.
Eh.
I like
Well,
anchovies.
Anchovies on pizza's delicious.
I love them.
What
on
is
pizza.
wrong with you people?
I'm
No
quite
pineapple,
surprised
no
about this. 'Cause
anchovies?
my uncle
You
is the only
just
other person who
up in
likes
the tub of
anchovies.
salt onto your pizza if you like anchovies, because basically all you can taste after you put anchovies on pizza is salt. That's
Yeah.
it. That's all you can taste.
No,
Exactly.
you can
Maybe
still
if you
taste
don't
the
have a
anchovy.
delicate palate like me.
I like green olives on pizza.
Interesting.
I have tried anchovy pizza. You do taste more than just the salt.
Does anyone remember that there's a Futurama episode where Fry buys a tin of anchovies? Like
Yes,
the last tin
Oh
of
yeah,
anchovies.
yeah.
Actually,
now we've
just a
gone back
couple of
to
nights
fandom.
ago, I ran across that clip.
Nice.
I haven't seen that one.
And Zoidberg.
Yeah. So, Fry finds out he had an account open that had like 3 cents, and he's a billionaire and he spends his fortune on anchovies to put it on pizza.
Yeah, just the compound interest on his bank account over 1,000 years. So
Sweet.
Yeah, in reality, he'd actually be owing massive debt.
Yeah, and fees. Yeah, and then Zoidberg goes crazy and eats the entire can.
Well,
After everyone spits it out.
Mom was trying to prevent him from doing that because she just wanted to buy it because it's like, oh my gosh, this could be clean robot oil.
Yeah.
yeah, apparently Mom was afraid that the oil from the anchovies was going to undercut the market on synthetic robot oil.
Yeah,
Until
when
she-
there's only one can.
Well, she was afraid that if somebody had a sample of it, that then they'd be able to reproduce it.
And the professor has shown some surprising moments of competence.
Yeah.
But I am already in
Interspersed
my
with lots of
pajamas.
moments of complete incompetence.
Okay, oysters on pizza. Now that's something I've never actually tried.
Oh,
I
one
like
of the great
oysters.
things about pizza is you can put anything you want on it, basically. But that doesn't mean it's gonna taste
Even a
good.
gorilla, apparently.
I've had pepperoni and crickets on pizza.
Crunchy.
You know, in Japan, I've heard they put octopus on pizza too. So
That doesn't make it right.
I stick pretty much to traditional toppings on it. You know, I'll pretty much just be happy with sausage and mushroom, black olives.
My usual go-to is pepperoni and mushroom. And actually, I've had pizza the past 3 nights now.
yeah, green olive seems to be a Midwestern thing. Became addicted to.
My dad used to get shrimp on the pizza
Wait.
all the time.
What did you say? Some Midwestern thing?
Green olive seems to be a Midwestern thing I became addicted to.
Ah, I like green olives. Not as much on pizza, but
This is starting to sound like a Dr. Seuss book. Green olives.
I will eat green
Green
olives
olives and
straight out
pizza.
of the jar.
I do not like them, Sam. I
Green olives and spam.
I like spam. Spam's good. I wouldn't put it on a pizza, but I like spam.
Oh my god. Spam pizza.
I have seen it. I have seen it as an option in
You're
gourmet
serious.
pizza
What about-
places. I'm like, what?
Okay.
Spam pizza with spam, 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 tomato, spam, 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 and spam.
Don't forget
Spam.
the baked beans on the side.
Mark, if you are putting on a sauce that is green or white, that is no longer pizza.
Spam is one of those interesting World War II inventions that I'm pretty sure the government thought was no one was going to want to eat after the war.
The
Those white
Japanese
sauce
ate it
pizzas
up.
are pretty good.
Hey, spam is the Hormel Corporation had to come up with something to do with the meat that was unsuitable to put in the hot dogs. That's why we have
Yep.
spam.
Pretty much.
Yummy.
Have they heard of Scrapple?
Scrapple.
I'm not sure I have.
It's a Pennsylvania Dutch thing you probably wouldn't have. It's souse meat, buckwheat, and a couple things mixed together in a loaf. You fry it up, put maple syrup on it, eat it for breakfast generally. And pet the puppy.
Hey, Jenny, welcome back. Okay, we're talking about what are your favorite and what are the most bizarre things you've put on a pizza.
Oh, I can't answer that. That's I have a reputation to uphold here.
She's a closet pineappler.
No,
We don't know.
never.
As long
Actually-
as no one's put mayonnaise on their pizza, it's fine.
We don't need to know how many times you've had sex on a pizza.
Twice.
What?
I said we didn't need to know that.
You always do stuff twice because the first time it's an experience, the second time you remember it.
But what kind of pizza was it?
Just cheese and sausage.
No.
And was this the same time a couple years ago I heard a story about
That's
someone
definitely the type to have sex with. Jesus.
Was this about the same time a couple years ago I heard about someone saying their pizza tasted really salty and they tasted it and there was semen on it?
What?
So that's an alternative to anchovies then.
So
Oh my god.
I take it that for some reason the person making the pizza felt they needed to get revenge on them, or
It was something like that. They
Did you want extra cheese?
Oh man.
actually, I'm sure with my current job, there are some people who put stuff in my food, which is why I try to avoid those places when I know those people are going to be there.
yeah.
Yeah. When I used to
So-
work for law
Stop
enforcement.
worrying about the people who might spit in your food. Worry about what else they might do in your food.
Long time ago, in the original McDonald's buildings that they would, build and have a McDonald's in, there was glass all around it, or all around most of it, and so you could see the people who are doing the cooking, and they'd wave at the windows if their friends like gathered around, stuff like. I watched the guy drop a burger onto the floor and pick it up and put it in a bun and serve it.
Yeah.
Ugh. and I'm not hungry anymore.
Hey, Julia Child did that once. Taking the roast out of the oven, she dropped it on the floor. She picked it up, put it back in the pan, looked right at the camera, and said, "You're the only one who will know," and continued with the show.
I just want to make an observation. I think we've accidentally come back on topic.
Okay. Back to the junk food.
Yeah, I guess you're right. That yeah.
Well,
the pizza
chances are
discussion-
the high heat, if you're cooking it after dropping it, is going to kill off anything on there. So
Yeah.
I don't think pizza is junk food. It's way high in calories and salt and stuff like that, but it's still really nutritious when you put the proper veggies on.
Well, a lot of
Yeah, but you
stuff we
can
call
say that
junk
for
food is
everything.
that way.
I'm
You
sorry,
know,
what?
I mean, tacos are the same way. That you've got your meat and cheese and some veggies in there.
I don't. Yeah.
Hamburgers can be healthy with the right stuff.
Beef is actually high in vitamins.
I think whether or not a pizza is junk food has a lot to do with if the grease is pooling on the surface.
Yeah, I would agree.
Grease.
Oh, I hate greasy pizza.
Yeah.
Hey,
Like you put the napkin on top and like soaks it all.
Yeah.
It's
if it weren't-
actually the
Put the
biggest
nut-
reason I don't like pepperoni on pizza because it's usually really greasy like that.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
If it weren't for grease, Pizza Hut pizza wouldn't be what it is.
I don't like pepperoni on pizza because it makes it too spicy.
Oh. My kid is
I
also the
love
same way.
pepperoni. It's brilliant.
That depends on the pepperoni. Sometimes.
Okay, I will
Daddy?
mention this again that if I happen to get bumped out of the chat, it's because Sammy is insisting on randomly pressing keys on the keyboard.
What else are cats gonna do?
I have found that older pepperoni tends to be spicier than the fresh stuff.
Athena Porpoise, feline software engineer, helps me code all the time. Usually by sitting in front of the monitor right where I need to see the code.
Well, you know, I have never drunk tweeted. You know, if you see stuff on Twitter from me late at night, that's probably that I'm already in bed and Sammy is walking on the keyboard and autocorrect is trying to make sense of it.
Oh god, it auto-corrected to I like pineapple pizza.
So, what's the calico kitty there?
Oh, this is Squeaks. I just inherited her from my mother.
Squeaks.
Hello, Squeak.
She's a little thing.
Is she a good mouse or is she?
She's a sweetheart. She's an old girl. She's like 15 now.
Okay.
But she used to be quite the take out the all the birds and mice and say hi.
Actually, I went grocery shopping today outside of Walmart, and when I came out, one of the Walmart employees was chasing a field mouse.
Okay, stop it.
Oh, okay. Oh.
One of the Walmart employees was chasing a field mouse.
Yeah, it was in the parking lot between two. And she's like, I think this came from a pet store. I'm like, no, that's a wild mouse.
I had a wild mouse run into my chicken coop and started eating the chicken feed. You know, just put down like only a minute ago.
Well, there was a pet store nearby, but it's like, and I had to point. I don't think she was listening to me. It's like, I really don't think you should be trying to catch that mouse because it's a wild mouse, and you can tell it's a wild mouse because its tail has fur on it. If it came from the pet store, the tails would be hairless.
Oh. I didn't know
Make
that
a
was like
slight
that.
distinction, but not to mention the colorings are different. But
Yeah, last fall I went into the grocery store and a chipmunk ran across the aisle. And I mentioned it to one of the employees. I mentioned it to one of the employees and he said, yeah, they had somebody on their way to take care of it. Apparently the little guy had gotten in there and had been living in the produce department for a couple of days.
That's
He
fantastic.
would have been happy.
Oh yeah, he was real happy. They weren't too happy with him.
I'm sure the produce manager wasn't stoked.
But I mean, it was getting cold outside. He'd found someplace warm that was full of food.
Life's good.
can't really blame the chipmunk for that.
Oh
Really
no!
nice.
Hey, it was a brilliant move by the chipmunk.
chipmunk was doing what chipmunks do.
Well, those kind of things are a lot more common than people realize too. That's why, all these stores have to have traps in the back room because occasionally things do get in.
Yeah. Oh, you're always getting animals in and around things. The number of mice that end up in loaves of bread.
Oh boy.
That's terrifying.
Okay.
I've yet to run into that
This
myself.
question is optional for you.
Well, remember, every piece
Oh, how
of
old is
food
she? She's 15.
every piece of food you buy out of a store during its manufacture has an allowable limit of rodent parts.
And there's 2 to 3 rat hairs allowed for pound popcorn.
And insect parts, isn't it?
That's Fig Newton.
Yep. Yeah, there is also a rating for what percentage of insect parts they can have.
In chocolate, yeah.
Well, some things
You know
are
what else-
intentionally there.
Pretty much for every food in the U.S.,
Yeah.
there's a standard for it.
What makes me crazy, people think of food contaminants and everybody's ew. Well, sorry, folks, you've been eating crap in your food for your whole life. The thing that makes me crazy that's going on right now is, who was it? Bill Gates, Microsoft, whatever, has been working on a way to purify water out in remote locations that need water and stuff. And people are told about it by the media, who call it poop water. And it's like, people, don't you understand that every drop of water on Earth has been here for 1 billion years, and you've been drinking the same stuff that Julius Caesar drank, or some dinosaur shit in?
Yep, you're drinking dinosaur piss.
Neil deGrasse.
Don't drink water, fish fucking it.
Yeah, I love
Oh,
that.
water.
What
My
about
dad
all
says
the
that
fish
line.
semen?
Like Neil deGrasse Tyson makes it a point to say, like, every time you take a drink, at least a few of those molecules that you're drinking was sweat perspirated off your parents when they were making love, making you. So enjoy that glass of water.
Well, probably not that.
Right.
It's probably not that close, but
Well, he actually does the math behind it. There are more molecules of water on Earth than there are like glasses of water or people drinking water. So he does the math behind it. It's
I heard
statistical.
somebody did a number similar to that, something about every breath you take, there's a certain percentage likelihood that you're breathing in some of the same atoms as that Julius Caesar did.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Same
Listen.
exact math. Yeah.
I don't mean to denigrate Neil deGrasse Tyson's intelligence, but while I know my parents had sex on at least 3 occasions with each other, I'm pretty sure they didn't enjoy it.
Fair.
Well, I know my parents had sex at least 4 times, one for each one of me and my brothers, and then this time I walked in on them.
Oh, sorry, 4 times. I forgot the time.
I was immaculately conceived, so I don't know how often my parents have had sex or haven't.
Fair.
I had that happen.
Oh, God.
One of my stepdaughters walked in on me and her mother having sex.
Oh, no.
Oh,
Yeah. Parthenogenesis.
It was a real good lesson on why you always knock before you open the closed door.
Hey, that's the one I learned too.
Listen, I know parthenogenesis happens because there's a House episode where he says there was no father for a child.
I remember that one.
I can't believe he did that with a straight face.
Yeah. I loved that show.
Which
Yeah,
show is
don't-
that?
House.
Me too.
Oh,
Another incredibly popular show I never watched.
Really?
good
I
show.
just
Oh.
love
Do you
Glory.
deliberately go out of your way to watch not watch popular shows?
I only caught House every once in a while.
Pretty much. I've just never been a big one on watching TV anyway.
I'm a fan of British murder mysteries, and House is fairly popular in England.
Is that because Hugh Laurie's British?
Well, yeah, of course.
Yeah, but Hugh Laurie isn't in murder mysteries in Britain. He's a comedian.
Yeah. pretty good one, actually.
Yeah, Hugo
Okay,
did a lot of
so-
great shows.
If there's so many British murder mysteries, how come they haven't figured out who did it to the language?
Oh,
Probably the Americans.
That's not a. That's because they figured out it was Noah Webster. The American who tried to Americanize the language after the Revolutionary War.
Remove
Yeah.
all those beautiful U's.
Yeah, we didn't need him anyway.
We didn't need those U's.
Stupid U's.
I swear at you, but I don't know what swear words to use.
Ones without U's.
Cockwomble doesn't have a U in it.
Sure. All right.
Cockwombles.
No, but it has a U in it.
Oh.
Listen, if you want to swear at me or use insults, just look up what the Scots called Donald Trump.
But that's got a U in it.
To Google. Oh.
Hey, Cockwomble's got a W in it. That's 2 U's. By the way, Sloth Girl loves Cockwomble. That's like one of her new favorite insults.
Well, wouldn't the W be 2 V's rather than 2 U's?
No, it actually comes from the W.
Double V.
There used to be no distinction between the V and the U when they were made.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just like J is a relatively modern invention.
Yeah.
Of course, in Welsh,
Linguistics is
W
fun.
in Welsh, W is considered a vowel.
Does Welsh have any consistent transliteration to English, or do they just throw letters together and it's like, we know how to pronounce it, we don't want you to know?
Yeah, I think they just did it to deliberately piss the English off.
Oh, have you ever read Middle English though? I mean, let's face it, reading Middle English is no better than Welsh.
You can have something of an idea of what Middle English is trying to get at because it's kind of similar
Yeah, maybe.
to modern English.
I mean, I'm talking pre-Chaucer, not Chaucer's Middle English, which is closer to ours than.
I mean, it's not like Beowulf.
That's true.
I heard the classic English accent that we all think of being in the English accent is actually a fairly recent development. Within the last 300, 400, 500 years, something like that.
You mean the posh English?
Well, the accent that Americans identify as the English accent, it did not exist
Yeah.
prior to a fairly recent point in history when it was intentionally adopted by, I
To
believe,
be fair,
the
most
posh.
of the Western accents that we accept as normal now have only been developed in the last 200 to 300 years.
Yeah, further back you go, the less coherent it will sound to you.
Yeah, but Jenny's right that the accent I think largely came in the same time they started putting the unnecessary use into words, because the British nobles decided it was undignified to speak as the peasants did, so they started taking from the French.
Because originally those British nobles were speaking French. That was their thing. The nobles were speaking French.
Norman French.
And the commoners were speaking this common English tongue thing.
Anglo-Saxon speech.
Eventually, the nobles had to be able to speak to the commons, so they did a variation on what was being spoken.
What were you saying, Jenny?
The reason that American English spells things differently is because Daniel Webster, who put together the first American,
Noah Webster.
did not believe in extra letters.
Yeah.
Daniel Webster was a lawyer.
He was also a guy who did a dictionary.
No, that's Noah Webster.
No, okay, I'm sorry. Yes, Noah Webster. You're right.
Yeah.
He did not like extra letters, and he took a bunch out, a whole bunch of different words. That's how he lost.
Yeah, and then you develop words that were longer than the originals, like automobile.
Like who?
Automobile. Instead of saying car. Car's so much easier.
We still
Yep.
Both words exist in American English.
I realize that. It's just, why do we have automobile when car is better?
I think automobile is first.
Because automobile is Greek for go by itself, and car is just a shortened form of carriage.
Well, that's true.
Actually, originally it was all one and they got split up. It was actually originally the automobile carriage.
Oh, so we've taken two parts of the same.
You're making that up.
No,
No, that would make sense. From a linguistic point of view, that would actually make a lot of sense.
yeah, it was an automobile carriage to differentiate it from a horse-drawn carriage.
Yeah, or even called just a horseless carriage. Which is probably, because horseless carriage was more commonly used in the UK, is probably why the UK went with car rather than automobile.
There we go. Okay.
We
Because
should
I
bring back
don't think
omnibus.
people were going to go around saying, I'm going to go for a drive in my horseless.
But
Although I suppose some people probably did.
here's another question: why do we still have the abbreviation WWWW when it's just
Oh,
so
yeah,
much
that's a
faster and
problem.
easier to say World Wide Web or just the web?
www. There's only three of them.
But
Or
just
have a
say web.
browser, or have
Yeah.
a browser that's smart enough to send
Well,
tweets
okay.
out instead of you.
I
having
don't
to-
even know how we ended up with the abbreviation www. I know it's how it's
World Wide
typed,
Web.
but the original abbreviation used when it was developed was W3, not
Yeah.
www.
Well-
It was only that it was typed in the browser as www that people started saying that, because W3 was how it was abbreviated in documentation. So,
and why?
which
and
it still
did they
takes longer to say the World Wide Web.
And why the hell did they pick the most difficult to say letter in the American language? You know, it's www.
Well, they kept saying www because they knew now if you said web, people would think you're talking about a telescope.
And yet people don't say
Not-
that now. They say
not back in
interwebs for the
1994.
internet, which really annoys me.
Tim
I hate it
Berners-Lee
when people
Green's
call the
webs-
internet the interwebs, because the web is just one part of the internet. It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's ubiquitous now, even though I differentiate them. Most people aren't going to realize it's like, because there was some idiotic post where they're trying to make fun of Americans where they were saying, oh yeah, this was invented in 1994 by Tim Berners-Lee, and people kept pointing out, less like, no, you jackasses, the internet really is an American invention. You're thinking, because the internet is not the web.
I'll only
Yeah.
use interweb as a joke.
the internet was a DARPA invention that it immigrated to the universities and then became a commercial product
And George Bush invented internets because he doesn't know how to talk.
because he was an idiot.
I'll be right back.
Just give George Bush.
The biggest example of the fact that DARPA invented most of the underlying thing of the internet is the fact that we still use DARPA code for underlying structures in the internet. There's actually DARPA written in DNS functions
But they were
as part of the underlying code.
They were assuming that because Tim Berners-Lee invented the World Wide Web in like the late 80s, early 90s in Switzerland,
Yep.
therefore it wasn't an American invention. It's like, no, the web is just one part of the internet.
Yeah, it's a tiny part. Well, it's a big part now, but it was a tiny part at the time.
Okay, how about the worldwide internet?
Just call it internet.
It's called the internet.
Yeah, just
The net.
The net, yeah. And just call the World Wide Web the web because
All right, I got a
Yep.
complaint. I am sick to fucking death of the cloud.
Oh, it's just someone else's computer.
Yes.
It's just
Yeah,
another
someone
way to
else's
rip
computer.
money off of us.
I do not trust
Yep.
clouds.
Ugh, it-
I
it-
don't
Yeah.
either. I
Yeah,
don't
they're
use them
too
at all.
light and fluffy, and I just know that they're eventually going to come down from up there and attack us all and take
As,
over.
as I've heard it stated, don't trust clouds. The clouds evaporate.
I'm fine
Yeah.
with infrastructure as a service, especially for things like running a web server for yourself. But people need to understand the cloud isn't like this some vast technology thing. It's just someone else's computer.
Yeah.
I do
and-
not
and it-
use
and
the
it's
cloud.
It's just the mechanism that they were able to come up with subscription software services and
Yep.
storage services, and just to make money off of all of us. We've got plenty of memory on our own personal computers. We can store all of our documents. It's not a
Yep.
problem. You know, I don't need to spend money with you to store my shit.
Yeah, I don't like cloud-based subscription services like what Adobe tries to do.
Oh,
Yeah.
Adobe pisses me off so
I-
much.
Oh.
Subscription services for software, they can shove those up their rectums, as far as I'm concerned. That's not the way software should be done.
I was a buyer and user loyal of Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop since version 1. And Illustrator was Illustrator 88. And
Wow.
then all of a sudden they go with a subscription service, and all these people who were loyal customers for like 15 years, 20 years, just get fucked, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, well, that thing you just spent $700 for is no longer valid, and we're not going to update it, and now you have to spend $100 a month with us.
Okay,
Yeah,
I can
that's what-
buy. I can buy I spend $110 and get a 5 terabyte external drive.
Well, I think $200 a
Yep.
year for like most things people are going to use. But it's like, first of all, Dreamweaver isn't used that much anymore because usually you're going to hand code HTML and CSS.
Yeah.
Well,
And
$200 a year is a huge amount of money for someone like me.
Yeah.
It's a stupid. I don't like the model. And use open source.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
and if you're talking, even if it's only $5 or $10 a month, you're talking for each program you use, it doesn't take long for that to add up to quite a large chunk of your income.
Yep.
Well,
Absolutely.
we're seeing the same problem now with streaming services. So
Yep.
many companies have jumped on the bandwagon that piracy has increased to almost the level it was 10 years ago, when
Well,
it had
yeah.
been coming down because people were happy to pay for 1 or 2 subscription services to get access to the content. But now when you have to subscribe
Not
to like 10 or
75.
12 of them, and you're spending $120 odd dollars a month just to get your stuff, people go, I'm going to pirate.
I'm not
Absolutely.
saying
Exactly.
I'm not saying the cloud can't be useful. I'm saying the buzzwords need to stop. It's not some
Yeah.
sort of high-tech thing. You have access to the same technology. People
Just
need to
don't put-
understand that the cloud is just someone else's computer. That's
Yeah,
it.
don't
Well,
put
that's
sensitive
just a-
documents on the cloud.
That's just a marketing thing, because most people who use the net and everything are just regular consumers that don't know shit. They need some magic name or concept to remember something.
Yep.
I don't care if they want to call it the cloud or
Well,
what.
I think the reason the cloud has appealed to so many people is the idea that you basically have one storage that you can access from any of your devices, any place you've got an internet connection.
Yeah, it is useful for like backup for non-critical for documents you don't really care if other people see, like Google Drive. Or one of the most creative uses I've seen for Google Docs was people passing notes to each other.
Yeah, I'll use a system like that if I want to show off something to people,
Which is good if you're trying to
Yeah.
hide it from a teacher.
or if it's something I don't care if somebody finds it. Then
Good
it
for-
doesn't matter.
Good for group
When
projects and whatnot.
when my life
love
was
YouTube
all
copy.
oriented with graphics and photography and filmmaking and stuff like that,
Or
I loved the internet because I could produce something on one laptop with one camera, and I could send it up to my little .Mac account and then propagate it to everything else, every other device I own, and then have my backups that way, because now it's on 3 different devices instead of just one.
Hey, Ox.
But now it's just, oh god.
Ox has got a
Hello.
new avatar. Hey, Carol.
I can see that.
Well, I can't see his avatar, so put it up on the stream thing.
yeah, I
There we
remember
go.
the
Oh,
first time I
that's cool.
remember
Yeah,
the
he
first
gave a
time-
hi to everybody individually.
Yeah.
So you were in there too, Jenny. Where is
Yeah.
Hi,
yeah.
Oxic.
Hello. Yeah, I remember the first time I saw
There we go.
someone using Google Docs to pass notes. I'm like, all right, I think that's cool, so I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah, the only time I've used Google Docs was basically just so I could put something up there and send somebody an email saying, here it is, download it whenever you got time.
We used it a lot during like physics group projects and things like that.
Hey, who here uses DuckDuckGo?
I sometimes
Never.
use it.
What do you think of it?
I don't think it's quite as
I-
useful as Google, but oh, I'm sorry.
I find it just as good as use. Oh, just I
Okay,
find
give
it just
Jenny a
as
turn.
useful as Google.
It uses the Google engine.
Yeah, I don't find it quite as useful as Google because the results aren't as good, but there are some things that I just don't want Google to put this into my search history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
also use start page.
Now, see, I'm so erratic in the stuff I search for that Google never has any way to figure out, how to suggest anything to me. And I really wish that there was some box I could click or something to specifically tell Google that this has nothing to do with anything I looked for last week.
I wish Twitter would.
Nice.
As much as you keep saying that, you keep going back to the dinosaur porn every week.
I don't know. There are some people on Twitter. I wish I could tell them it's like I want to follow this person for this reason, but please stop giving me their brain dead political takes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about things that get suggested to you. Twitter is way worse for that than Google is.
Well, but see,
And
Twitter
the suggestions for people to follow on Twitter are like, why on earth would I ever follow this person?
Twitter can be easily trained. I did this because I got so burned out on the politics for a while. That I wasn't clicking on any of the political stuff. And in 2 days, Twitter was showing me nothing but cats and paleontology pages.
I just use Ask Jeeves. Oh.
It's Ask Now.
I'm always astonished with the general public's ignorance. I picked up on this tweet chain that was going on the other day, and it was people who were astonished that did you know that the NSA can follow what you're doing on the internet?
Yeah.
Did you know
Yeah.
they could do that?
Shit, Sherlock.
How dare they? It's like, yeah, for about the last 10, 15 years they've been doing that.
And this is another big reason
Patriot
not
Act.
to use the cloud because, various government agencies can get access to anything you put there.
You don't have to
Yep.
be on the cloud. You just have to have your computer online anytime, anywhere.
Listen,
Yeah.
that's because most people are incompressible jizz trumpets.
Okay.
Sure. And do you know about the chip that they're putting into new IBM PCs these days, which basically allow it's an independent computer inside your motherboard, which
Do you mean the trusted platform module?
I'll be
I
right
think
back.
so.
I
I'm
don't-
not sure.
Okay.
That's
It can
actually,
basically go on.
well, depending. I don't think that reduces security because I think that actually increases security.
It's I saw a what's it called, that hacker conference talk on
Okay.
it,
Here's a
where
good
it
question.
has ability for even if it's off, for your computer to be externally turned on and
The
accessed.
VPN can still store that
VPN won't do
information
that.
that can be accessed just
Mark's-
by government.
Mark
If your
Caesar.
country has a requirement to store information on activities of users, so do VPN service providers. So
Mark-
you're
Yeah.
not gaining anything. All you could possibly do is shift that logging activity to a different country with different laws. But even then, they still log. Everyone logs. You have to,
Okay.
because otherwise, how do you protect yourself as a business?
Mark
And-
Caesar. The main thing with that VPNs do is add an encryption part to it, so it might make it harder to decode your data, but it doesn't make it impossible.
The NSA wants your material. They're going to get your material.
If you want to keep stuff away from the internet, just air gap your computer.
Well, the VPN probably helps you with, as far as scammers and hackers, but not necessarily with government tracking.
Not really.
No,
Because
not really.
most scammers and hackers rely on Trojan horses and worms and viruses to get access to your data
Phishing.
by accessing your machine. So they've already got access to you before you
Well,
start using
Yeah,
your
that,
VPN.
that's not
So
gonna. Yeah, it's not gonna stop virus. A VPN isn't gonna stop viruses.
What a
I really
VPN
hate it when VPN providers start are advertising that, because some of them have. Oh, it reduces viruses and worms. No, it doesn't.
Well,
That
I
does
had-
nothing for that.
I do
have-
hate it. I do hate it.
In the last 24 hours, a friend of mine had a tweet up, and she wrote me a DM today and said, "What did you mean by that comment?" Huh? And so I went and looked at the tweet she was talking about, and it was something that I never wrote.
Oh wow.
Somebody had been able to get into my account somehow and wrote
Oh,
very
that's-
nasty to her.
Are you sure?
Pardon?
Well, one thing that's a problem, especially on Facebook, is it's not really hacking, because I see a lot of my older relatives think it's like, oh yeah, someone sent me a message I was hacked. It's like, no, they created a phony account designed to
It
mimic
was
yours.
Twitter, and I checked all the account stuff, and there was no special characters or spaces or any additions to the name and handle. It was they got into my account and they wrote a nasty thing. I changed all my passwords and stuff right away, but
That's good.
Well, a VPN will make it harder for the things to be decrypted, but keep in mind anything can be broken with enough time.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah.
That is, of course, the caveat. I mean, if you're using 256-bit encryption, that amount of time is going to be years, and that would normally stop most people. Although, with the advent of
Quantum.
Yeah, quantum computing is
computers,
gonna.
yeah, those algorithms could be cracked a lot quicker. So, yeah.
Governments
Governments. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Governments like to build in backdoors to those codes, though. Fortunately, usually what happens for encryption algorithms, because the community wants them to be secure, is they try to put these backdoors in, but they open source the algorithms so they can make sure they're working properly. So generally, these backdoors don't last very long.
Because they can be independently implemented.
For the people on the chat that maybe not real net junkies or computer junkies, as far as password security, if you're one of those folks who wants to use just the minimum 6 or 8 characters for your password, which is pretty easily broken by most strong arm tactics and stuff, add a period in the front or the end of it or in the middle, and just or a second period, so you have 2 periods in there or 2 apostrophes. Just that little addition will like quadruple, quintuple the amount of time it takes somebody to break your password.
So I'm pretty sure the computer I had that was least hackable was a Commodore 16.
That was one of the big reasons I stuck with the Commodore 64 so long. Since the
Well, we're gonna
operating
go
system
there, are
wasn't
we?
firmware, it was hard for people to alter it.
Oh, nice.
I have the disk drive for that in the closet.
Yeah, I've got a disk drive as well.
That's cool.
Yeah,
it
I
all
lost all
cathode
my
ray
Commodore
tube.
stuff.
And she still uses it.
Yeah.
Keeps her recipes on it.
I haven't used this one for a while, and it desperately needs retro brighting, as you can see.
No, here's a fun fact. On September 9th, 1947, we had the world's first computer bug, which was literally a bug, a moth
Yep.
that got into the machine.
Yep, it was a roach that chewed through some wires.
No, it was a
Yeah.
moth.
A moth?
Yeah.
Hmm.
In
I
a
don't know.
relay.
I do know this is the story. Supposedly Grace Murray Hopper dug it out.
Yes.
Yep.
It was the first literal moth, a literal bug, I think, not the first bug, because
A little
the
bit.
term bug had been used for electronics before that.
Well, the urban legend is this is where the term debugging code comes from, because it caused some problems with the code, and they had to go and get the bug out of some of the Univac, I think, but
Yeah.
vacuum tubes, which served as the electronics for the computer.
No, wait a minute. Are you talking about the one that Grace Hopper found, or?
First of all, this is a legend in the first. It's an urban legend in the first place because we're not really sure if it's true or not.
I
Well,
think
I've seen a picture of the bug
than
that she
they
took
know.
out.
Yeah, I've
Okay.
actually seen Grace Hopper holding a framed moth.
and I know I've heard that stories way back in junior high school. I heard it.
Like,
Yep.
they were using I think it was the Mark II or Mark I, possibly called Harvard Relay computer, and
I
it
thought it
got
was the
caught in.
Univac.
No, it was before that. It wasn't even a full computer, and it got caught in the in the relay, sort of where they stamps together to connect the circuit.
It was a Mark II.
We've pushed the idea of what a full
Yeah.
computer is back a little further than the 50s, because now I think we consider the bomb and the ENIAC a full computer.
Oh, you'd have to consider them full computers.
I wouldn't consider the ENIAC a full computer, but I would consider, say, the UNIVAC one.
I was told that too, but I think we've pushed the idea of what a computer is back a little further.
There was the UNIVAC,
And a device called the bomb that Turing made.
UNIVAC, and ENIVAC. What was that again? I forget.
ENIAC.
ENIAC, yeah. And then the main, which is Windows based.
The definition of computer is contentious, and so the first computer is contentious.
Yeah, that's
Makes
the
sense.
problem. It all depends on how you're going to define computer.
But the first electromechanical computers came about in the 40s. So
In
Do
the
you think-
40s, yeah.
Turing's Enigma deciphering machine was a computer.
I think it's considered a computer. I can't remember what its actual name was.
The Colossus was.
Was it called the Colossus?
No, it wasn't.
Yep.
Oh, was it?
No, I know that. I know
the one
Turing's.
that they used for the.
Yeah, the one they used for code breaking. The nickname was the bomb. I can't remember what its actual name
Yeah,
was.
it's the bomb.
No, that was a electromechanical device that they got from Poland and improved upon.
I think you're getting the story of the Enigma machine that they captured early in the war, and what I'll have to look it up. But I know we captured an Enigma machine that was used by the Air Force and the Army fairly on in the war, and we could break the Army and Air Force's codes really easily, whereas the Navy codes were a bit harder to crack, so we needed a specialized machine for those.
Yeah, and the whole task was to break the Enigma machine so that they could then decode the messages. Because even if when they had one, it still wasn't useful until they knew how to break it. It was an ingenious.
They needed the code book so they knew what the settings were.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that helped break the Navy codes was first of all, they always started with the same phrase.
Mhm.
So they knew straight off which the HEILH.
Well, that's the essence of breaking, simple code breaking. That if you look at what characters are using, and you find the most common in the English language, the most common one is going to be the E.
No, they know all German communications started with the same phrase, so that helped them break it.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm saying that's the essence of code breaking, is that if you can identify one thing in it, you can break the rest of it.
Yeah,
So-
but that's why the Japanese were never able to break the US code, because they assumed it was based on English.
Right. And the Navajos fucked that all up for them.
The Windtalkers,
So
right?
Turing's first
Yeah.
computer was the automatic computing engine ACE, which predates what they did with decoding Enigma. But that was still
No.
You're still talking 1945. So
Thanks, Claire.
Claire. Her birthday? Really?
The ACE
How old
was
are you?
built a lot.
Except now
the ACE
after-
wasn't built; it was a specification. He
question-
designed it, but they never built it.
All right, let's ask the important
Well,
question.
Yeah,
Actually,
but they
Claire,
built
now
it
that's
from the
after midnight.
specification.
You're actually 3 days late for my birthday.
Let's ask the more important question. When did
Okay.
people install Doom on it?
Didn't have the memory.
Can it run Crisis? If it can't run Crisis, it's not a proper computer.
If I can't run Frogger, I don't want it.
Playing worms. Yeah.
You kids and your modern stuff. I actually remember.
It frustrates me. This is what I was talking about with Dick earlier. That because I love all the old computer gear and stuff like that, and I watch a lot of videos from people who are enthusiasts of old computers, but they will say things that I know are actually wrong, because they'll talk about, there was these reasons why this sort of thing didn't happen and no, that's not why why things took this amount of time to happen in the computer industry, especially when they're talking about graphics or sound generation for consoles and stuff like that. There were limitations in our engineering that stopped us from being able to make the components that could produce the type of graphics that we have now, or even had in the mid 80s compared to the late 70s. We didn't have the size of RAM to store the graphical capabilities that you wanted, and the processors were so slow that they couldn't actually put that many pixels on the screen, let alone colors. So,
I remember I was a teenager when the bowling alley got the very first Pong machine anyone had ever seen down there.
Just think how much quicker computing would have advanced if Ada Lovelace and Charles Babbage had developed their connection with George Bullmore. So they might have used binary on the analytical engine.
yeah, that would have been kind of cool.
They all knew each other. They attended parties with each other.
Yeah.
Purple,
I mean,
playing Pong, okay?
The biggest thing
sorry,
about
I
driving
didn't-
the biggest thing about driving forces for why technology has snowballed in a way is that we were basically in the 60s and 70s building the tools to make the computers that we were going to use in the 80s and 90s. So the computers that were built then ended up being the computers that designed that we used to design the computers that came later. And because everything prior to that, everything 70s and early 80s was done by hand, it took a very long time, and you were limited into how small you could go. Plus, we then had to build new equipment from an engineering point of view that could build those smaller nanometer chipsets and things like that. So we were limited in our technology. So we took creating new technology to make new technology.
Well,
that's always been the case.
A big thing with it speeding up over the decades has been a question of building the machines that could actually pack more circuits onto a chip.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
and building the machines that could design those machines. I mean, nowadays, if you want to design a new CPU for yourself, I mean, for starters, if you were going to design something that was, say, equivalent to a Motorola 68000, you can completely design it in software and encode it to an FPGA. No problem. You can build your own thing at home. You can do that. And
Well,
it is
there is somebody who does have an emulator for the 68000, and that you can load it up on your PC. And
there's been emulators for the 68000 for years.
Who loaded it up onto what do you call it? A Pi? Okay.
Raspberry Pi.
Raspberry Pi, and then with a little screen, they actually were able to simulate the original Macintosh operating system, and have a Raspberry Pi running Mac.
But I'm not even talking about running emulation. When you're doing an FPGA is a collection of circuits that you can program. It's not really programming. Whoa! Hey, you two, stop it.
It's not software emulation; it's hardware emulation with FPGA.
It's hardware emulation, not software simulation.
Well, like you were showing off your Commodore 64 there, and they've got a thing out for people who want a retro 64, but you open it up, and the thing is basically just two chips the size of postage stamps.
Yeah.
So the entire circuit board of the Commodore 64 has been shrunk down to two postage stamps.
Well, pretty much most of if you're talking about the newer version of the 64, I think they call it. I think it is pretty much a Raspberry Pi inside that. I mean, it's not the same chipset exactly, but that's pretty much. It's got an ARM processor in it, running an emulator that emulates the Commodore 64 or whatever else software you want to run on it, because that's the easiest and more efficient way to do it if you're talking about an 8-bit or even a 16-bit processor now. But you can actually build the hardware. So with an FPGA, if you want to replace a silicon chip that was developed in the 80s, you can actually logically build on the FPGA using software and do it at home, like programming a ROM chip. You can build an integrated circuit package, basically, that does exactly what the original one did. The FPGAs are brilliant, but they're a process of, they came about because of earlier forms of programmable logic that we had starting in the early 80s, late 70s. I think the first programmable logic array chips that were consumer grade came out in about 79. So, but those things were equivalent of like 1,000 gates, whereas an FPGA is equivalent to tens of thousands. To I think the largest ones have 120,000 gates on them. You know, so
Mark's-
you can, yeah, or more. I'm not sure what the largest ones are now. So.
Hi, Beck.
Mark Caesar, quantum computing may be interesting, but I think it's highly expensive right now, and I think it's a long way off. I think what we're going to see probably more sooner are medical applications for DNA computing.
Yeah.
And probably in space hardware, we're going to see more nano vacuum tubes because they actually work better for the space hardware.
Yeah, because they're not as susceptible to cosmic radiation.
Well, if they build them small enough, they should be able to switch fast enough to make them practical.
They still won't be as fast as silicon switching is for
Oh,
terrestrial
no, of course.
use.
No,
Or if you've got really good shielding. But your problem you've got is the more shielding you put on a spacecraft, the heavier it gets and the less efficient the space.
I am just blown away with what they can do with chips. The one that I always have in my mind that blows me away is the I forget the official number of it, that is used in most cell phones for when you flip the screen from vertical to horizontal. That
accelerometers, gyroscope.
Yeah, the sensor. That when you look at how those things are actually built inside with a one layer of molecules, it actually flexes and changes its contacts. And like, fucking A, that's just unbelievable.
Oh, you got cat claws. I was wondering what the facial expression was about.
It wasn't even claws. She just. Sorry, it has to do with something I have, and she probably hit something she didn't know she was hitting.
Hey, Skits, whose uniform
Yeah, I've
is
had that.
That?
Yeah.
That's mine from back in the army.
Sergeant, huh?
I was sergeant with the 82nd Airborne.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, that was paratrooper.
I saw a tweet today from someone saying it's like, you will address me by my husband's rank.
Oh my
I
god.
saw
Yeah,
that.
I saw that. I was like, what the hell?
It's like, no, I won't, Karen. It's like, wait, you mean you want to address her as Petty Officer Karen?
It's just like,
Or Petty Officer Second
I
Class
respond-
Karen?
I responded to that. I just said, fuck you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Fuck you.
Is it- well, that's
Thank you very much.
That's so much internalized misogyny right there.
Well,
Beck,
you know,
come on.
a couple of days ago, I posted Sys64738 on Twitter, and I'm so disappointed that not only did it not initiate a reset, but not one person understood what I was doing.
It's only a soft reset, though, Purple. Anyone who was hard, you wouldn't have been able to reset.
What you have to do is type in sudo before that. Just ask any Linux person. And make sure you know the root password.
Yeah, but that doesn't work on a Commodore 64, so...
I'll clue somebody in who's not a DOS operator.
It doesn't have anything to do with that.
64738 was the address for the reset routines on the Commodore 64. Sudo is a function in SUD. It makes operation in Unix happen as though you're the administrator
SUD.
or the owner of the system. So
Yeah, it was just sending it to a machine language routine that reset the computer.
yeah, it basically reran the startup code of the Commodore 64. So yeah.
I know sudo. I know a few Unix commands, not enough to actually use it, but I could struggle through if I had a guidebook with me and stuff. It's pretty neat language.
Unix isn't, well,
Well,
Unix
around
is an
here it
operating
eats
system.
well because I'm always getting
Well, I think
pseudo-bad.
of it as a language though, because I'm just a stupid kid.
Why wasn't Unix pointed to the 6502? Well, aside from memory constraints, the 6502 only has a 256 byte stack, and that's not enough to run a multitasking operating system.
I love how cheap memory is.
Yeah, I mean, the 6502 is a product of the time it was developed, and it was made to be cheap and run with very little memory.
Yeah.
And it did very well at what it did, and survived working for a very long time in lots of applications, to the point that it's still used in some embedded applications now. They still make 6502s. So I'm like, yeah, that's just crazy to think that a processor that was developed, 50 years ago now, is still in active use.
Well, remember, Linux is just...
Which chip?
The 6502.
Linux is just a clone of a 1970s mainframe operating system.
It is, but the mainframes had large stacks that you could move around in memory, so you could actually do multitasking with that type of operation. When you have an 8-bit CPU that has a 256-byte stack, which should be enough if you're only running one task, but then you want to put a multitasking operating system on top of that, what do? You've only got 256 bytes of stack and you can't shift it anywhere else in memory. It's always in the same location. Not
Unless you have banked memory.
Python's been around.
That will work, which is how the 128 got around it.
Python's been around since the 30s. Not 30s. 80s.
30?
Whoa.
80s.
I was like, geez, what tube radio are they putting that on?
Turing was a bit
I don't know
slow.
why I said 30s.
Because an 8's half of a 3, or a 3's half of an 8.
JavaScript has nothing to do with Java. God, I hate that.
No. Used to be called LiveScript until those who may be obeyed said put Java in the name of it.
Isn't that what the guy was drinking at the time?
And it used to be like a Lisp, a scheme, before they were told, no, make it look like C.
And
Was
C,
it-
Why do all you high-end computer people hate Java so much? Is it because it's insecure?
is it Java or JavaScript? Because
I-
those
I
are different
don't-
answers.
Two different programming languages.
Okay, I've only heard
basically,
people
too.
complaining about Java.
Java has the same problem COBOL does. It's clunky, it's wordy, it's basically.
Oh, it's not as bad as COBOL. Nothing's as bad as COBOL.
Java is the bastard child of C and COBOL.
I used to
Still not
program
as
on
bad as
QBasic.
COBOL.
I learned COBOL when I was in the tech school, and mercifully, I have forgotten everything.
Basically, Java was a good idea.
I never learned COBOL, but I used to have to.
I still think, as far as teaching programming languages, Pascal is still one of the best for teaching people with.
I think Python.
It is.
That's what I learned.
I learned Pascal, C++, Python, Mathematica.
C++ is all right, but it's way more complicated to get somebody's head around.
Yes.
Very much so.
As
not a
a
beginning.
beginner, but Pascal is pretty simple. The structure of it forces you to write structured code, which is
Athena.
something that you really struggle with
Get away from
young
there.
programmers.
Well, you don't
Sorry.
use QBasic? Oh.
Who uses
I
QBasic?
I
really
used
have not
QBasic.
written a computer program since I had a Commodore 64.
Java.
Did you learn assembly language, Purple?
I
Oh
learned
yeah,
some-
I taught
think I get
myself
out from-
assembly on the 64 by dissecting the operating system.
To be fair, you had to learn to program assembly on the 64 because you couldn't do anything in BASIC.
Here's another non-coder question. There's tons and tons of languages. Now, some of them are because just the progression of the science advances and so new languages are invented to
It's also popularity taste.
stuff like that.
Listen, we
But
all know
is it because like Pascal is still used, Python is used, COBOL is actually still used, I understand.
well,
Yeah. unfortunately.
Why would people stick with old language when there's new stuff that's supposedly better?
the reason
Because
COBOL,
there's already code there.
the reason COBOL is used, and it's used in specific applications, is because it's really efficient at batch financial processing. We've tried to use Java, and Java doesn't have the same cost per transaction. COBOL is really efficient at it because that's what COBOL is designed to do.
And pretty much in every case with a programming language, those programming languages were designed with a purpose. I
Yep.
mean, effectively, I say why I think Pascal is a great teaching language is because it was pretty much designed as a teaching language.
Yeah,
It's
That
designed
was
to
the
teach
main.
yeah.
Yeah,
Each
it's
one of them
technique
is just
programming
going
and
to be.
structured programming.
Can't
Yeah,
you
it's just going to
optimize
be one
any,
niche or one profession that they still hold in.
Pascal
can't
is
you
designed.
optimize any application you write in whatever language you're using,
Yes.
so that it will do a task better and better?
Yes, but some languages are better at certain tasks. Like Python happens to be really good at machine learning, not because I think Python was set for that, because it's just because Python has all the libraries for it.
Yeah.
To be fair, if you want to write the fastest code you can possibly do to do a specific task, you write your own libraries and you write everything down at the bare metal in machine
Assembly.
code, in assembly or machine code. Yeah. But even that, I mean, we talk about bare metal with assembly and machine code. That's not bare metal to the processor. complex instruction set computers are the bare metal codes sit underneath a ROM that decodes the code that you're writing. So
Micro
you
program.
look at the base processor code, the core ALUs in Intel processors has a lot less instructions than the programmer actually has sitting above them that they can use, even in assembly language, because that's the best way to design processors. And internally, they run a lot faster than what you see on external, even with the cache and everything.
Yeah, and Fortran, for example, is really good at has really good certain scientific libraries. So it's
Matrix, multiply.
Corpus, see what we mean about Jen? She really is polymathic. Pretty smart.
And I don't know what the purpose of Forth was. I think somebody just wanted to
Forth?
fuck with people who came up with
No,
Forth.
the purpose of Forth is for small interactive programming, structured programming on small systems. I think it's good for stuff at 64 kilobytes and less, but anything over that, use less.
The processors that run it to get Forth running properly would mean that the early processors that they tried to run it on weren't very good at running Forth. So I think Forth was a complete waste of time and just way too complicated for most people. And C did everything Forth did, but better. So why?
My only experience in programming and what made me want to get out of it, it made me so mad, is early in the days of the web, Apple had this language called HyperCard.
Oh, HyperTalk.
Oh yeah, HyperCard.
HyperCard was the program,
and HyperCard was the product. And I decided, damn it, I'm going to learn this. And I, read and practice. And I was developing this. Basically, it was a browser that was a visual browser that you were. The metaphor I was using is that you walk into a library and here's all these stacks of books and things, and one task is over here and this Dewey Decimal part, this one's in that one, and I was almost fucking done with it, and they dropped the whole language, and because it wasn't making it in terms of sales and popularity and stuff, and so it just was suddenly discontinued. And I had this thing that nobody is ever going to use, and I put so much time into it, and god damn it.
Well, HyperCard isn't around anymore, but I would say its successors are PowerPoint and Scratch.
Which means
you can get HyperCard emulators these days, can't you?
I'm pretty sure you can. I'm pretty sure you can even find the program. I think it might be abandonware at this point.
You find anything from at least 10 years ago, and there's got to be an emulator for it, because we're
Just
weird
about.
people, and we like old things.
I would still like to learn coding. I know I'm old and wasted and going to be dead soon, but I'd still like to have that as something on my bucket list that I
Never too late.
accomplished.
Never too late. Yeah, I recommend Python or JavaScript.
And then go to Pascal if you want to learn structured programming.
Yeah.
What does that mean, structured programming?
I would not recommend Pascal as the first language you learn, but it is good to learn structured
Basic
programming.
is a good starting point.
Well, I would go with
Python or JavaScript beats Basic, I reckon.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
JavaScript's kind of a pain.
I'd go with. I don't like JavaScript that much, although to be honest, I'd rather go with Python if you're going to do a starting point.
Yeah, it depends whether you want to do web pages or web types applications or computer type applications.
Do people actually still use Basic?
Yeah.
People are always going to use any
On Microsoft.
People
still
write
use
code in Basic.
Smalltalk.
Except with Microsoft, it's not Basic; it's Simpleton.
Yeah, I'm like Mark
There's
Twain.
a few good freeware basics which actually emulate some of the basics that were around in the 80s, like BBC Basic, which was actually not a bad language for kids to learn in.
If you just want a simple computer to learn to program on that comes with Linux, it'll have all these programming languages available if you want them. Get a Raspberry Pi 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Flash the Debian thing on
Oh,
it.
really?
Yeah, you can download Gambus, which is the Visual Basic clone. You can download Lazarus, which is an open source version of Delphi, or Free Pascal if you don't want to deal with.
Well, Free Pascal. You're probably better off not trying to learn Delphi to start off with. If you're just wanting to learn structured programming, you're better off writing terminal-based applications in Free Pascal.
Python and Idle will always be on there, or if you just want like a simple language to understand the structure. The Bash glue logic language is one of the easiest there is.
Yeah.
But You're only going to use that for Linux scripts.
What's that thing that was around before the hardware board system that was around before Pice came out? It starts with an A.
Android,
Arduino?
A Rundle?
Arduino.
Arduino?
Well, if you want an Intel
wanted to
base,
I've wanted to learn that because those look awful damn useful
oh, Arduino, yeah.
Yeah, Arduinos are fun.
and low
They've
cost.
Have they replaced the chips that they used to use with ARMS these days in the Arduino?
Well, the Arduino's programming, I mean, it's all C anyway, but the Arduino programming environment supports a whole heap of different platforms with different processors. So you have Arduinos that have ARMS in them, and you have Arduinos which have Amigas in them and stuff like that. So you get the whole gamut.
I'm going
and
back
the
to
code's
learning
portable, which is great. So you can go to a higher level device with more RAM on it and faster processing, and either inbuilt or not.
I'm
inbuilt,
going
like
back to
Unix.
learning, doing some really old school electronics. I want some things that don't require being programmed, that I can just solder a bunch of capacitors and resistors together and have it do something.
What's the fun in that?
That's called a digital clock.
Actually, very close. Yeah, I'm playing with the 555 timer chips just to make things that can control relays to turn stuff on and off.
That's fair enough.
You know,
But to be fair, Purple, programming small snippets of code for an Arduino is really, really simple. And you can create your own timers within that turn pins on and off, and then you've got 5-volt circuits out the other end.
We had this discussion.
Yeah, but she just bought a gross of 555 chips. So
we had this discussion last week. Apparently, some people, as strange as it may seem, don't want to program things.
It's not that I don't want to program things. It's just that I no longer have any clue how.
They're sick in the head and they need better mental health.
All right.
But also just the whole thing of, if it doesn't need to be programmed, the program doesn't get erased or anything. It doesn't matter if the thing's been without power for 6 months. You plug it in, it's going to work.
Yeah, that doesn't matter with Arduinos either.
You want ROM.
You link the time that the reprogrammable ROM, the electronic reprogrammable ROM, will hold data is about 8 years. You're pretty safe that within 8 years, I think the device will stop working.
But you still got to spend the money on the ROM and the processor.
It's her project. Let her do what she wants.
Okay.
No, seriously.
But I'm just saying. I mean, my last Arduinos I bought for a project I was working on, I bought 4 of them for like $10.
They're cheap.
They're cheap. They're cheapest.
There's something satisfying about
I
the
just
hardware
got
stuff, though.
I got the 555 timers for like 50 cents each.
Well,
HyperCard was fun. I'm just going to say that.
Like, I'm actually picks now. The little 5-pin PIC processors are only about $1 a piece now.
Do we have anybody left in the chat, or have we bored them to death? Or
Oh no, we still got a group out there.
oh, okay.
I'm still working on a project with.
Know how to.
I'm probably going to have to hop off anyway.
Is an integrated circuit with all its little pins and stuff confusing to you? Do you understand how they work? Each pin is just either an input or an output, and information comes in and flips some switches, and then it goes out to do something else.
Yep,
got a bot.
They're quite simple.
And I'm not.
At least it's a friendly bot compared to some of them.
Unlike Titan. No, Titan's a friendly bot for Android.
And then they get more complex, of course, as you get into like Pentiums and M2s and A2s and all that kind of stuff, because they have so many more pins.
Thanks, Ox. Yeah, apparently we got one of our spammers in here, so Uncle Beck and Ox have taken care of him.
Ox, you made a comment before I wanted to ask you about. You really like the Alienware stuff?
Oh, all right. I'm going to go because we got somebody coming here in a little bit, and
you know Alienware 2 skits.
Very well.
Yeah, I do have an Alienware as well.
Bye.
Jen,
you want to plug anything before you go?
What? Sorry, hang on. Too many people asking me questions. What was that?
Okay, Jenny.
I just wanted to say, Jen, I really missed you, and I'm so glad to see you again. And we got to get together and talk some shit, okay?
Yeah, we do. We got to talk some shit.
Okay, now I was just asking if you had anything you wanted to plug before you go.
Not at the moment, but I'll I might do something Sunday my time as a stream. Maybe I'll see how I go. I'm not going to
Okay.
guarantee it. All right, bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Actually, yeah, this would probably be good to wrap it up here. We've been going for 2.5 hours, and I have not been getting a lot of sleep lately.
Okay, well, Skits and I can hang on after and talk stuff, right?
Hey,
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
anyone want to take my statistics file next week? No.
Sure.
No.
I'll take it for you. I did little
No,
statistics about 30 years ago.
I have to take it on my own.
And anybody, have anything you want to plug or any final words?
I'm glad I could
You know what's
slip in
really
here
nice about the
at the end.
January 6th hearings that are going on? They actually say things like "fuck" and "shit" and "piss" on the air, because that's what they said, and they just say it's going to be bad word in here, and then they say "motherfucker" and things.
Nice.
Never mind, that's dumb.
But I love it.
At Titan, I would actually say that's a fair amount of technical skill to make those, running the script kiddie stuff, but
Well, I should be releasing my next video on my gardening channel on Monday.
Woohoo!
Yay.
Cool.
What are you going to cover?
I'm covering some basil. I thinned it out, showed how it was growing, how I pruned it. Just gotta get one little snippet of little clip of after pruning it, how it grew.
You're in Florida, right?
Yes.
Would you do me a favor? Try Roma beans, green beans, Roma type. Have you ever done those?
Roma bean.
Yeah. They have the pod is just real flat, more like pea pods, and they're just extremely tender compared to a green bean.
I'll look into them.
They're really neat. You can get them in bush or pole.
I was actually thinking about trying my hand with yard-long beans.
What?
Beans.
Yard-long beans. They're big, long beans.
Oh, really?
As long as a yard.
Just about, yeah.
So your bean is a foot long, huh?
Yeah, they
Well, I
get
mean, a
big.
yard.
Yeah, I get the joke.
That's a big bean.
I think they get to like 2 feet long at most.
Jesus.
Athena has found the tape she's been trying to play with for weeks.
She happy now.
I've been trying to keep it from her for weeks. I'm not happy about it.
You're not happy. But she is.
With that, I would just like to, thank everybody who's been supporting my channel. Ox, Jyuni the Apostate, Skits Crasher here, Robert X, Mark Caesar is in the side chat, the Lavender Lady, Greg Hartwick, and Dog. I appreciate all of you helping me keep things running.
Love you,
So
Chad.
with that, we will bid you all a good night.
Good night.
Bye, guys.
Have a good
Love
night.